call the meeting to order for the Lehigh Acres Fire Control and Rescue District for our monthly meeting tonight at 5 p.m. Tuesday, February 23rd, 2016. Yes, there is an error there. Pledge of allegiance, please. Everybody, please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please stand in. Commissioner Becker will do the invocation, please.
You may join us, remain standing for the moment of solemn invocation. Almighty God, creator and sustainer of all that is or will ever be, accept our profound gratitude for this day and all of its blessings of life and freedom. We remember those who make our freedom possible, our firefighters, our police, persons serving in the service, and our veterans who help protect us. It is because of their sacrifice that our community can practice our shared endeavor to values of varied expression of faith, civic duty, and respect for all. We gather today to render our public service in a proper manner and perform our civic duties in good order. Therefore, we solemnly invoke divine wisdom and guidance for this district and this day's meeting. Amen.
Amen. You want to do attendance, please?
Yes, Commissioner, thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Lehigh Acres Fire Control and Rescue District Board of Fire Commissioners meeting this evening, February 23rd, 2016. I'd like to call this Board of Meeting in order. In attendance this evening, we have Commissioner Cruz, Commissioner Carter, Commissioner Smith, Commissioner Adams, Commissioner Becker, Chief John Wayne. Our Fire Marshal and Assistant Chief Fire Marshal Bennett is on a call at the moment and will be with us as soon as he can. Division Chief Nickel, Finance Manager Larry Tibbs, Attorney Pringle, Admin Assistant Susan Plattis, myself Janice Williams. And at this time I'd like to remind everyone to silence your phones, please. And welcome.
Okay, thank you. Do we have next is the adoption of the agenda. Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
I so move.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
What are we going to add
Yes.
for the
Discussion for walk-on items. Due to,
workshop?
yes. Right. And the two items for the agenda being added was the job chief description of qualifications and the approval process and statewide items being added to it. Is there anything else being added to the agenda? Okay. The person making a motion, do we accept the modified changes?
I so move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Adoption of the consent agenda. Do we have a motion? Do we have a motion for the consent agenda?
I so move.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, at this time I'm going to turn the meeting over to our fire chief, John Wayne, for presentations. John, it's all yours.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out this evening. We generally have our awards presentations, our annual awards presentations in the month of January, but we had a couple of promotions and a new hire group come on, so we decided to kind of combine it and postpone it a month. So basically what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to call each employee up by name and have them kind of filter down here against the wall to kind of cram for space. And then we're going to swear our new hires in that came in at the end of last year and at the beginning of this year. The first employee I'd like to call up is firefighter EMT Eric Urgenti, who I believe is out today. Second one is Lazaro Gonzalez, firefighter EMT. He's also a paramedic trainee. Firefighter EMT Robert McCarthy is also a firefighter EMT and a paramedic trainee. Next we have William Pappas. He's a state certified paramedic who is in fire school and a paramedic training at the same time. Firefighter paramedic Stephen Kazik. We have our newest group that just was hired within the last 2 weeks. We have Raul Villapanda. He's a firefighter EMT and a certified paramedic. Danielle Gonzalez, who's a firefighter EMT as well as a certified paramedic. Alex Rossler, who's a firefighter EMT as well as a certified paramedic. Pedro Aliva, firefighter EMT. Kyle Noonan, firefighter EMT, who's also a certified paramedic. Pedro Carvajal, firefighter EMT, who is in paramedic school. We have Sarah Goldstein, who's a firefighter EMT and in paramedic school. So this time, we also have Elisa Gaines, who is our fire inspector. Is she here? What I'd like to do is, I'm going to kind of stand here and I'm going to crank the space. Generally, when we have a few, we do it one at a time. There's so many new employees. What we're going to do is I'm just have everybody repeat after me. I'm going to say I, then have everybody state their name, and then everybody will just repeat the rest of the verbiage after myself. So everybody can raise your right hand. I state your name. Do solemnly swear. To perform my duties as a firefighter. For the Lehigh Acres Fire Control and Rescue District. To the best of my ability. To serve my commanding officers. With respect and dignity. To serve the citizens of Lehigh Acres. With compassion, courage, and integrity. And to uphold the laws and constitutions. Of the United States of America. And Lee County, Florida. So help me God. Congratulations, everybody. Also, I did acknowledge our newest mechanic on board as well. He was hired at the end of last year with Elisa. Jeffrey Coughlin. He's our second mechanic that we've been on. Okay. I guess we'll squeeze our promotions down on the end next to Jeff. I'd like to introduce Jeff Brady, who's our newest lieutenant, who was promoted on October 25th, 2015. He was hired January 23rd, 2006. We have Kevin Martin, who's a paramedic and an engineer, is promoted to engineer on October 25th, the same day. He was hired on January 9th, 2006. I'm going to do each one of you individually. Raise your right hand. I state your name.
Jeff Brady.
Do you solemnly swear?
Yes.
Do you solemnly swear?
Yes. I solemnly swear.
To perform my duties as a firefighter.
To perform my duties as a firefighter.
For Lehigh Acres Fire Control and Rescue
For
District.
the Lehigh Acres Fire Control and Rescue District.
To the best of my ability.
To the best of my ability.
To serve my commanding officers.
To serve my commanding officers.
With respect and dignity.
With respect and dignity.
To serve the citizens of Lehigh Acres.
To serve the citizens of Lehigh Acres.
With compassion, courage, and integrity.
Compassion, courage, and integrity.
And to uphold the laws and Constitution.
And to uphold the law, Constitution.
Of the United States of America.
Of the United States of America.
And Lee County, Florida.
And Lee County, Florida.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thanks, sir.
Okay. Mr. Martin, I state your name.
I, Kevin Martin,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to perform my duties as a firefighter
to perform my duties as a firefighter
for the Lehigh Acres Fire Control and Rescue District
for the Lehigh Acres Fire Control and Rescue District
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
to serve my commanding officers
to serve my commanding officers
with respect and dignity,
with respect and dignity,
to serve the citizens of Lehigh Acres
to serve the citizens of Lehigh Acres
with compassion, courage, and integrity,
with compassion, courage, and integrity,
and to uphold the laws and constitutions
and uphold the laws and constitutions
of the United States of America
of the United States of America
and Lee County, Florida.
and Lee County, Florida.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
At this time, I know some media people are probably going to want to do some photos. I think we probably, because again, we're going to have a hard time with everybody here in this small room. We want to do photos with the promotions and the new hires. I would say do that now, and then we can kind of shift everybody and then move our awards folks in for service awards and stuff like that. So I don't know if anybody wants to take photos, family members, or anything like that. I would encourage you to do that now, and we can, or we can just move on. So, or is that up to the audience?
What we'd like to do at this time is take everyone outside and we do photo ops outside.
Yeah, we'll have the commissioners start with you, Jeff, and we'll have the commissioners shake everybody's hands as they go out and do our photos out there.
Sometimes I have it more sometimes not. Starting us off right. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, they're already
I just wanted to bring it up.
So that's fine. Because I got the official clock. Thank you. So that way with the official clock, we started right. Sue, did you see where the error was?
Yeah. We saw.
Okay. I was reading that and it's like, wait a minute. I had to go back in and double check. It's like, oops. We used last year's agenda.
So there just is some sticky kitchen on camera.
Because if you know our agenda's basically this right here. This is look at the date. 2015. See, that was last year, so we already did last year's meeting, so.
They don't have this. I don't sign it, right? But I promise not to steal it this time.
I know they are.
Thank you so much, Janice. I appreciate it. I might wait till a little bit later.
So since we already did last year's meeting, we don't need to do that. We did the last right here. That was emailed with added.
He's gone back.
Having a drinking problem.
School.
Drinking problem.
It's a big deal. Oh, I know.
That is a big deal with those school buses.
So, but, Richard, question for you. On the paperwork that we discussed the other night, on this sheet of paper here, on page number 5, I thought we discussed moving item at the very bottom, in the middle bottom section, up to the section right above it as a minimal.
I don't think this is the tall block.
I think this is the current version.
Right now, were you supposed to bring a clean copy the other night? You said you were going to bring a clean copy.
I said I would try to bring a clean copy.
Wait, I didn't hear the word thought. I said, I will bring a clean copy.
I don't know that
Ouch. Well, that takes the blood out of white.
That's okay if you draw blood.
You probably have a few things. All right. The next section here is our annual service awards. We give out service awards for 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20, 25, and 30 years of service. And we also have a Firefighter of the Year award this evening. We're going to start out with our 5-year service pin recipients. And several of the employees are not here tonight, so I'm going to just name them, and then those that are here will come down here and stand where the previous group was. We have Lisa Gaffer, who's a paramedic engineer. I do not believe she's here tonight. That's a 5-year service pin. Firefighter EMT Jason Corte, who do not believe is here this evening. We have Firefighter EMT Kenneth McDonald. We have Firefighter EMT Adam Sherman, who I do not believe is here today. He is on duty at another station. And we have Firefighter EMT Dennis Walsh, all 5-year service pin recipients. For 10 years of service, we have Firefighter Paramedic Abner Adorno, who I believe is absent. We have Paramedic Field Training Officer Jade Bowe, who I believe is here this evening. We have Engineer Paramedic Rick Pride, who is absent this evening. We have Lieutenant Brooke Riccardi, who I do not believe is here this evening, and Lieutenant James Saunders, who I do not believe is here this evening. All 10-year service pin recipients. And we also have 2 30-year service recipients they also receive a 30-year plaque. Unfortunately, neither one of them could be here tonight, and that's Lieutenant Carl Temple and Lieutenant Robert Hanna, Sr. And I'm going to just quickly, Lieutenant Hanna sent me some information. He knew he was not going to be here. He's out of state, but he wanted to make sure that that we acknowledged on his behalf this evening. Give me 1 second. I told him we promised him that we would do that. It says, I regret that I will not be able to attend the Longevity Award portion of the commission meeting for 2/23/16. He has prior family plans out of town. Basically, he said that, please give my congratulations to all who are receiving awards tonight for time and service to the Lehigh Acres Fire Control and Rescue District. You all should be proud of yourselves, as I am. Please give special recognition to Lieutenant Carl Temple for completion of 30 years of service to this department. He is one of only 3, including myself and Engineer Murray, who reached this milestone in our careers and deserve special recognition for this. As you know, I will be retiring in March of this year, and it has been a pleasure to work with all of you who are receiving awards tonight, and I again regret my inability to be in attendance to share this moment with you. Please keep up the good work that I know you do. Good luck in the future to all of you. Be safe in your career. Sincerely, Lieutenant Robert Hanna, Sr., Lehigh Fire Department B Shift, Engine Company 103. So on behalf of Bob, that's a phenomenal achievement, 30 years, especially most of that in one department, which is here in Lehigh Acres. So at this time, we'll go ahead and present our 5-year service pin to our EMT, Kenneth McDonald.
Thank you, sir.
And our 10-year service pin to Field Training Officer, Paramedic Extraordinaire, Jade Bowe.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations. Show them with a 30-year plaque. It's quite an accomplishment. Again, this is the plaque that we give our 30-year employees. It's quite a phenomenal achievement for those gentlemen. And again, last year, our first 30-year employee was Engineer Murray, who retired. And actually, he had 33 years, I think, total, which is, I don't know how he did it, but congratulations to Murray as well. At this point of the presentation, we would do our Firefighter of the Year plaque. I don't believe Mr. Torres is here, right? He has it coming up. Okay. This is an award that we started 2 years ago. This will be a 3rd year that we've done it. And the Firefighter of the Year award is a peer-driven award. What we do is we send out nomination forms to all of our employees. And at that time, they answer 10 questions, and they nominate their peers for things that they've done, either on duty, could be off duty, could be a myriad of things. But it's a peer-driven award. It's something that administration doesn't pick, or something that just their battalion chief or something doesn't pick, because we want the people who work here to choose that award for their colleague for that type of an action, again, either on duty or off duty, in or out of the fire department. This year we had 24 nominees, all different ranks in the fire department, including administrative folks, and there were 55 votes cast. And in the end, firefighter EMT Christopher Torres was chosen to be our Firefighter of the Year. He was also acknowledged at the Lehigh Acres Chamber of Commerce last month and was presented an award there. The Lehigh Chamber of Commerce picks a firefighter and a law enforcement officer of the year. They give them their own award, and I believe Mr. Torres even received $500 in cash this year. It was the first time they've done that.
From the funeral home, let's do this.
Yeah, from the funeral home. And again, all of these service awards in the firefighter year were for 2015. So basically what I'm going to do at this time is read some of the comments. I like to do this so everybody has an idea of why the individual was picked for firefighter of the year. And these are comments directly from his peers that he works with here at the fire department. I'm going to pull it out as such. Chris is always motivated to work. He's very productive. He's been a big part of my career here and stressed hard to me about being early to work. I can say honestly, I have yet to see him without a smile on his face. You can tell he really loves his job. When needed, he's been there for the department. He's attended every benefit hosted by this department. He attends classes outside of work to better understand his job and role as a firefighter. He is all about operating as a team. Even dinner is about everybody eating together. His professionalism is not limited to just here at the firehouse, but follows him outside of his work. He carries himself in such a high fashion that he's noticed everywhere he goes. He's truly a great example of a real firefighter. He always goes above and beyond. A positive role model and always somebody to look up to. He knows that what is expected of him and does it while motivating others to get involved. He always wants to better himself and never settles for second best. He excels in a team environment. Mr. Torres is also part of the National Guard, so he's also in armed services as well. And here is kind of what I put together. This was a big portion of why Chris was chosen as firefighter of the year, and one of the nominees is quite an amazing thing that he did. And this actually happened off-duty outside the fire department. And I'll read it to you. It says, Firefighter Torres was getting ready for work at the fire department when the fire alarm activated in his apartment complex, notifying the residents to evacuate the building and head to the parking garage on the 4th floor. Firefighter Torres waited a couple of minutes for the stairwells to clear out because he didn't want to confuse the residents with him wearing a fire department uniform. He was on his way to work in the morning and felt that if people seen him coming down the stairs in a fire department uniform, that they might be reluctant to leave. So while he was on his way down the stairs to the 10th floor, he encountered a 90-year-old couple in the stairway slowly making their way down. He stayed behind them on the 10th and 9th floors and asked them if they needed assistance. The couple said they needed assistance, and Firefighter Torres held the woman's hand, leading the couple down the stairs to assure their safety. Once they came down the 8th and 7th floors, Firefighter Torres looked at his watch thinking he would be late for work. So now he's getting nervous. He has to drive all the way from Cape Coral to Lehigh, and he's getting nervous. It's kind of a funny story. So he asked the woman if it would be all right to carry her down the remainder of the stairway. She agreed, and Firefighter Torres carried the woman over one shoulder down 3 more flights of stairs with her walker over the other shoulder. Once they all arrived on the 4th floor, he opened the door to the parking garage, and there were 2 firefighters from the Cape Coral Fire Department waiting to go up the stairwell, because they're waiting to come into the building. Firefighter Torres gently placed the 9-year-old woman down and transferred the couple into the care of Cape Coral Fire Department. This time he made his way to his vehicle and traveled to work, arriving on time. And if Chris was here, you'd understand he's actually, I think, even, believe it or not, a smidge shorter than I am. He's about twice as wide and arms as big as my legs. So, and tattoos, and he's a total picture of military guy, firefighter, the whole 9 yards. He's very strong, very, very healthy, very fit individual. And he just picked this lady up, threw him over her shoulder, grabbed her walker in one hand, and led her and her husband down and handed them off to the Cape Coral Fire Department. So at any time, we don't know when there's alarm activation if there's actually a fire or not. I believe there was a fire in that building at the time. So, he sacrificed, his time, his health potentially to bring these people down the stairwell and out to safety. So that is why Firefighter Torres this is Christopher. Now you kind of put the whole picture together and kind of understand what I'm talking about. So, anyway, so Christopher Torres is our 2015 Firefighter of the Year recipient. At this point, I'm going to have Captain Ketchall present him with his plaque. We also have an acknowledgement plaque on the wall every year that we take off. We put that firefighter's name on there. And then we continue to add to that every year. This is something we did many, many years ago when I started, and for some reason we discontinued that. I think it's very important to do so. And at this time, it's something we brought back in the last couple of years, and congratulations to Chris.
Take 1 minute on it. They move.
Today, Mel.
Yeah, well,
At this time, we've got refreshments, cake, cookies, punch, anything like that. Everybody help yourself.
Transfer the chair back to Kathy Cruz, our chairperson. Upon her arrival, it's now yours.
All right, thank you, everybody. We're going to continue on, and next up on our agenda is public comments on agenda items. First I have, is it Alan Pipucci? Want to come up to the microphone? Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, good evening. I'm Alan Capucci, resident of Lehigh Acres for about 10 years, a little bit over. Just a comment on preceding Friday's meeting that was held here regarding appointing or electing a new chief. There was discussion regarding the education level that the chief should or should not have when it's been appointed or elected. Having a bachelor degree, maybe it's something that should have. Having a master's degree, I don't know if this is what Lehigh Acres citizens want. What we want is a person that have experience, at least 10 to 15 years, knows the neighborhood, that lives here, and know it really good. That's what we're looking for. Master's degree is just adding numbers, just adding a piece of paper. I'm an educator myself. I'm about to hold my master's degree, but it's not going to add anything to it. What we need is someone that had the good experience, good judgment, and be able to serve the citizen of Lehigh Acres. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Yassin?
Hi, good afternoon, and thank you all very much, Commissioners. When you had, and I'm going to talk about your workshop, it was very constructive, it was fruitful. I can tell you, when you keep workshops such as that, when it involves, for example, the chief, we are having a good man leaving. I know I criticize him a lot, but it's constructive criticism. But when you have a person of his caliber leaving, you do need to, sometimes you tend to think that you need somebody exactly like that so that we can move forward. Having been an educator and an ex-military, and having the level of education that I currently have in the leadership, I will say this much. And I know our current chairperson is an educator also, in its true sense that she's full-time. We don't normally have to have a person with a master's degree or a doctorate degree to do this job. I will tell you, I'm going to echo what the prior speaker just said, in that you can have somebody with a bachelor's degree, potential to do maybe their master's if they want to uplift themselves, because sometimes that will help them in maybe reaching the salary level. Because, so that you know, you don't have to hire somebody as a chief and offer them the same amount of money right now. It is like they have to be hungry for this job in Lehigh. And I concur that, look, citizens would much prefer have somebody within or around, not outside. We don't need to create that wheel because you can create worms. And I know you can do a funnel in the 30 days that we have for work right now. I say 30 days. Within 30 days, if you don't act, you'll have 120 days to, you won't have the 120 days or 90 days to have a chief. Because my understanding, chief, it's about 90 days more you have, right? 93. Okay. So you guys, you're on a timetable. The funnel is not the way. Do it, and you have the authority here to do it as commissioners. You dictate that, not anybody else. And the people elected you will tell you what you probably should do for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Anderson?
I want to get up and talk to you for a second about Spring Festival. Every year, you donate your time, your effort, and everything else to Spring Festival. You waive all the fees. In the last 2 weeks, I went out and tried to find $5,000 to have the parade. The parade's been canceled. I found them $5,000. They turned me down. It all has to do with money. It doesn't have to do with money. They have money. We can have the parade to pay for the sheriff's office. What I'm telling you to is to if they turn down $5,000, that means they have money to pay your fees. I mean, it's time for them to ante up. I mean, I already did a story. You can read it on the Gazette. There's been 4 different companies. Actually, the story says 2. I had 2 other companies come to me today. Said if they don't want to ante up, we can ante up. But they only have 24 more hours to do it. They will not contact me. They tried to contact them multiple ways, email, text, all kinds of ways. They don't want to return the calls. Lehigh's had a parade since 1972. I know there's always money that they raise. They don't ask people for money. They want you guys to give your fees. Maybe it's this year they need to pay. It's your choice. You're the commissioners. But, it's up to you guys. But again, facts speak for themselves. I have checks in my hand, and they turned me down for the parade. So, appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We're moving on to
They won't return.
department reports, Chief.
Not yet.
Call everybody's attention to page 6 of the commission manual.
What page?
Page 6.
Okay.
We're at 76.37% of our annual budgeted fire fee assessment at 33% of the fiscal year, which is on track. Everybody's paying their taxes and getting discounts. Also on page 6, we're at 42.94% of our annual budgeted transport fees at 33% of the year. We go to page 18 and 19. And it shows where we're at with ambulance billing. We had a stellar month last month, $196,074.49. This month to date, as of today, $183,293.64. We're estimating to bring in approximately another $190,000 this month. It's a bit high, a little more than what we anticipated, but I'm sure, again, it will start to level out here. On page 33, Emergency Operations Division, we have total calls for service are up 8% over last month, and our total calls for service are up 12% already over the same time last year. We had a total of 6 structure fires, 10 brush fires. The brush fires only amounted to a little less than half an acre. Our total EMS patient contacts are down 3.2% over last month. Our patient contacts over the same time last year are up about 6%. EMS patient transports are roughly the same, a little less than 1% over last month, but we're up 5.9% over the same time last year. 49% of our patients are still being transported to Fort Myers receiving facilities. On page 35, our average response time has increased a little bit this season. We anticipate that to go up a little bit. It's 6.72 minutes for last month and 6.62 minutes for fiscal year to date. Page 37 through 39 is our training. EMS training consisted of PCR or patient care report documentation and allergies and anaphylaxis. On the EMS side, on the fire side, it was wildland firefighting, initial fire investigations, personal protective equipment, emergency vehicle characteristics, fire investigation, and a fire evolution. On page 40, Life Safety Management Division, Chief Bennett hasn't made it yet. Again, they're just doing new construction projects, plan review and inspections. Looks like they're in the area of Williams Village, Lakes Boulevard, and south here in Gretchen and 8th Street Southwest. There was no juvenile fire setters in the program for this month, and Ms. Janice conducted 4 safety seat inspections, and there were no events scheduled this month either. Page 42, financial data and statistics. We're at 28% of our annual budget expenditures at 33% of the year, so we're about 5% under budget. And page 43 through 46 is a support services division on work orders, field costs. If you have any questions, Chief Nichols here. Answer those. As we do every month, birthdays and anniversaries for the month of February. I'd like to acknowledge the following employees who had birthdays this month. Lieutenant Temple, Engineer Jernhart, Firefighter Torres, Firefighter Sherman, Engineer Sexton, Engineer Pride, Firefighter Walsh, and Billing Specialist Vanessa Koza. And anniversary dates for the month of February, we had Administrative Assistant Gladys at 28 years, Firefighter Dossie at 13 years, Captain Ketron at 13 years, Paramedic Purnell 12 years, Paramedic Drake 11 years, Firefighter Collins 11 years, Firefighter Picciano 11 years, Paramedic Bergman 10 years, and Paramedic Borrego 10 years. So happy birthday and congratulations to those having anniversaries and birthdays in the month of February. We did receive a $23,912 check refund from the Workman's Comp carrier for Brewers Governmental Insurance Trust for overpayment. They did their audit, and so we had that almost $4,000 refunded to us. That was a nice surprise in the mail. And we had 1 resignation since last month. It was in conjunction with and related to a disciplinary investigation. And I have 1 correspondence, and this is from Norma Ziegler. It says, Dear Chief Wayne, firefighters, and everyone. It says that your kindness is such a blessing, and so are you. Thanks so much for remembering Bill, Ziggy. Sincerely, Norma Ziegler. We did a small private, memorial, if you will, for Ziggy. Passed away in the line of duty many, many years ago. It was 30 years, correct? Anniversary?
Yes.
30-year anniversary. A couple past employees had contacted us and asked if we would participate in something they wanted to do, so we sent some staff up on-duty crews, and it was very informal at the site out in Zone 1 where he passed away on a brush fire. And so that was a thank you from Norma Ziegler. That is all I have in my report. Anything else is under new business?
All right, moving on. Staff.
Okay.
So staff reports. We'll start with Sue. No, thank you.
Nothing to report.
Nothing much. I don't know.
We already covered it on page 42, which is the financial summary. Under the impact fees, I did make a mistake on the report. It states here that we did not receive impact fees during the month of January. We did, in fact, receive $18,885.99 in impact fees during the month of January. So our current balance on impact fees is $119,020.89. And they are starting to pick up a little bit. We so far this year we collected about $35,000. Last year was $25,000. The year before that was $20,000. So it is starting to pick up a little bit.
Where is that shown? The impact fee shown in the report? This report. Where is it shown? Because I haven't seen it.
It does not show there because if you look at on page 9 look.
Yeah.
Up at the second, I think it's the third line down, you see impact fees, $119,000.
Okay.
If you go all the way down toward the bottom, almost to the bottom, you'll see deferred revenues, impact fees, $119,000. So we receive that the impact fee cash is deferred revenue until we start paying off the loan back to the general fund.
Okay.
So it's not shown. We don't show it in the treasurer's report because it's not current revenue. We're deferred it to.
And as that builds up, we could, as a board, decide to transfer it over?
Yes.
Okay.
I think the last time we did a transfer was back in 2011.
Okay.
we transferred 130. We paid off 136,000 back then.
Okay.
So periodically we can,
Now, how much do we owe on that loan?
$2,523,150.
About
155.
Do we have to make that decision to transfer that, and how much do you wait till you have collected before we?
That's a board decision.
Well, who brings that to us to suggest it?
I mean, we can, there's no, there's no formula or no.
So we just put it on the agenda and.
Yeah, that you would do.
Okay.
Want to make the action to transfer the current balance.
Next to March. Buses are.
Slated to be completed first week of April.
Just another month. We got pictures of them. We've seen the box last week. And they're getting ready to marry the first box to the chassis, and then there's 2 more right behind it.
I could be overestimating that by 2 weeks.
So you don't mean on the road first week of April, you mean delivered to us, and then it's an additional amount of time?
Yeah.
That week, yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any other questions?
Yes, I got one other question. Because storm season starts June 1st, do we have any major areas that we need to deal with getting ready for this year's the storm season, building-wise, equipment-wise, or anything that's we foresee that is a major repair or something that could be, or whatever?
No, ma'am. We're right on track with everything. We're actually getting ready to do generator services to be ensured that they're all in good working order for storm season.
Okay, and we have no problems with any mold leakage or anything in building 103 anymore.
That hasn't had an issue for several years when we completely redid the upstairs.
Okay.
Do we do periodic testing?
Yes, ma'am, every 2 years.
All right, so next we have DVP 6 and 19, and I do know that DVP Purnell contacted me and told me that he was resigning from the DVP position, and that there would be, I guess, voting somewhere down the line.
Yeah, probably this month at the monthly meeting downtown.
And so DVP 19.
That's in transition as well.
Okay.
Used to be at Chicalalo, and I believe the same meeting. I think this month we should know both of those. Basically, nobody will run against them. They'll nominate themselves. They'll win by acclamation, and it's kind of just a formality. So I anticipated being Rudy B.C. Naranja for District 19, and I'm not quite sure on the 6th. A name, but I don't know if there's any validity to it or not.
All right, so next month. All right, attorney reports. Mr. Pringle.
Excuse me. Yes, ma'am. I have one non-agenda item for you this evening, and that is just to let you know that the pending litigation with East County Water Control District, now Lehigh Acres Municipal District. I never can remember the full name. We went to hearing. I attended a hearing yesterday on behalf of the district in that case, and we asked the judge to place the litigation case in abeyance temporarily, so that we can address other solutions, non-litigation solutions. And the judge agreed with our request, approved our request. So that should put that into a hold pattern as to the litigation anyway, until we can get some other things working. We've been working. Everything is good. The conversations are, we are collectively trying to find a solution. I think that's a fair way to state this. The other comments that I have relate to the added agenda items, and also to Assistant Chief Bennett's discussion of whether you want to pursue a resolution or an ordinance to adopt your fees. So I can save my comments until the time those items come up on the agenda.
Okay. I have one quick question about the Homestead Road project, if you will. I know the last time we talked might have been right before Christmas. Has that gone through the process that we know of?
I don't know where that is.
Okay.
It's somewhere between lawyers.
Okay.
I have a little bit better recollection than that. That was a good lawyer answer, though I do not recall. If you ever have a question asked of you by the media, that's a good answer. I do not recall. But in addition to saying I do not recall, we have had several versions of the interlocal agreement going back and forth between us, between me and the county attorney. In fact, me and several county attorneys, they like to kind of gang up. But the bottom line is I continue to say to them that we do not want any responsibility or liability either now or at any time in the future. That is a request that may be a little bit more than what they're used to having presented to them. And so they're thinking about the last time we had any interaction, they were going to think about some of the things that I was asking for. The concepts, generally speaking, the dollar amounts and the concept of putting up the signal and the signage being relocated and all those things that we've talked about before, we are in agreement on all of those items. It is liability provisions and things like that that we're now talking about.
Thank you. Sorry to put you on the spot. All right, we're going to move on to commissioner reports. Does anyone have anything? Okay. Unfinished business. We have the fire fee assessment.
I have nothing for you this evening, Madam Chair.
Okay, so we're moving on to new business. Lehigh Spring Festival fees. Assistant Chief Ken Bennett, please.
Each year, the Lehigh Acre Spring Festival Committee asks the board to waive any fees associated with the festival that the district may assess. Those fees in the past have included providing an ambulance on duty, to include a paramedic and EMT during periods where the crowd size exceeded 1,000 folks. This year, they do not anticipate at any one time the crowds are going to be 1,000 or more. So they have not asked for an ambulance this year, or they do not feel they'll meet that threshold requirement. This year, they're asking the fees for the inspections. That's the only fee that they're asking to be waived at this point. Normally, they also provide us or allow us to have a table set up. We provide first aid out there in case somebody is hurt, and we have a few fire prevention items laid out on the table that we hand out as the public comes about and requests them. So it's almost a trade of sorts. We don't have a booth fee for that, and this year we're waiving the inspection fees. The inspection fee is going to be $100.
Okay.
He's here. Andy's here in case the board has any questions of him. Andy Riesinger.
Anyone have any questions?
He's in the very back.
Mr. Anderson had spoke
So Mr. Bennett. Chief Bennett.
Okay.
Chief Bennett, on our public comments earlier, Mr. Anderson had asked that we consider not allowing for fees to be excused for the Spring Festival. So just to let you know about that.
Okay, they're it's going to be perhaps addressed a little bit later on in the agenda item for the fee resolution. There is language within the fee resolution to automatically waive the fees for the Spring Festival. So that may be something the board may want to discuss at that point as well, if they choose.
Okay. Does anyone have any?
I'm sorry. Chairman, does the Spring Festival people charge their vendors for, for being there? Do they charge them? Is there a fee for the vendors?
I think that might be a question for Mr. Reisinger.
Yes. What was the question again, please?
Are there fees involved with the vendors? Yeah.
To have a booth.
Good evening, everyone.
How you doing?
Hey. All right. You're asking if there's any associated fees with the vendors?
Yes, right.
Yes. For a regular booth, like vendors are selling items, yes. Food items, yes. However, we have also community booths, what we call, which is like nonprofit organizations, for example, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts,
youth soccer club, where they are able to have a booth at the Spring Festival for no fee.
So you waive that for that, okay.
And you have a scholarship program too, Andy?
Yes, usually the community organizations were helping us out with, for example, parking. In the last couple of years, it was the Boy Scouts, Troop 11. They organized the parking, so we share the parking. So 50% goes automatically to that community organization to help them out with trips, for example. They did a Boy Scout trip to Arizona that helped out with gear and supplies, and of course with the fees associated with that. And if you guys want to have a booth again at the Spring Festival with some informational material, anything like that, we'll be more than happy to arrange that as well. So.
Thank you. Andy, I've got a couple of questions,
Sure.
And they're serious in nature. Who is going to be the midway? Are we using the same is the same company or is it a new company?
No, it's going to be a different company than the last few years. Yes.
Yeah, because in the last couple of years, we've had to have our EMT paramedics there almost every night because of one issue or another. And, safety is key number one. And, I want to make sure that who's going to do that, we're not going to have a problem because, if it's going to be less than 800, we don't need to. But at the same time, you've got to, there should be some type of medical on site for that scrape, that little bump, or whatever happens. You get hit a little bit harder on that, water thing that we can see. And I don't know how we want to do that, Ken. But I really feel safety-wise that we need to have somebody, at least one person.
We are.
Every night on duty there, to cover minor issues like that.
No, absolutely. I mean, our main thing is safety first, and that's obviously our concern as well. So
you had a first aid center.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
At least it's not going to be the same one. I'm thinking.
No, it's not going to be the same one.
Any questions?
No.
All right.
Good.
So I guess I would entertain a motion.
And what is the motion going to be?
I would entertain a motion to approve the request from the Lehigh Acres Spring Festival Committee to waive all fees associated with the 2016 Lehigh Acres Spring Festival.
Second.
Somebody's going to make that
Oh.
motion.
I thought you made the motion.
No, I just want to know.
No, he wanted to know what it was going to be.
Okay, then I'll make the
Unless
motion.
you want to share something else.
Yeah, motion.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you,
Having a
Commissioners.
safe Spring Festival. All right, we're moving on to user fees. Chief Bennett.
At the last board meeting, we were going to present a fee resolution to the board for consideration to change or modify our existing user fees. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend on time, and I apologize for my tardiness again this evening. But that item was tabled to this evening. At the conclusion of last meeting, I had an opportunity to speak to Attorney Pringle, and we're discussing the options of using a lien process to collect some of our fees, mostly where we do our annual inspections and we provide a fee invoice to those folks, and the majority of the folks pay, but some don't. A lien provides an opportunity to the district to place that onto the property. We can collect it eventually, whereas if we have to send them into collections, we're only getting 30 to 50 cents on the dollar, Janice? Somewhere around there.
Correct.
So a lien provides a better option to the district, and in some cases we don't collect the lien, when we go to collections. Attorney Pringle had indicated that the ordinance is most likely the preferred route to go if we're ever at a point where we intend to foreclose on a lien. So based upon our conversation at the conclusion of the last meeting, I'm asking the board to consider the options, and Attorney Pringle can explain further of utilizing the fee resolution, which we have been using from 2007 forward when I introduced the fee resolutions that I've presented to the board, and perhaps go to a ordinance system in adopting the fees. The ordinance is going to require 2 public hearings. We'll have to advertise for that, and 2 board meetings. So, Mr. Pringle, I'll turn the floor over to you.
I do not recall. Just practice. The law relating to fees, user charges, is actually what it's called in the statute. It is referred to in 2 places in Chapter 191 of the Florida statutes, which governs independent special fire control districts. The specific reference to user charges is found in Section 191.009, subsection 3, and it says the board may provide a reasonable schedule of charges for special emergency services, including firefighting, inside or outside the district, or for motor vehicles or marine vessels or aircraft, or as the result of an operation of a motor vehicle or vessel within the boundaries of the district. And then it goes on to list some other fees that the district can establish through approval of a reasonable schedule of charges, is the phrase in the statute. As I read the law, there are 2 methods the district can use to adopt a fee schedule. The one that is used primarily by fire districts is the resolution process to adopt a fee schedule, and that is what you have done in the past. And the general idea is that with a resolution process, you can do that essentially at any time. It's a simpler process to adopt a resolution than it is to adopt an ordinance. But there are some distinctions between the force and effect of a resolution and the force and effect of an ordinance, and what you can do under each. And generally speaking, the difference between approving a schedule of fees through a resolution and approving a schedule of fees through an ordinance is that with a resolution, I have not ever tried to enforce through a lien or foreclosure of a lien process a fee that has been in a fee schedule that was adopted by resolution. I'll tell you that in my role as county attorney over in Glades County, we adopt quite a few ordinances, and by adopting the ordinances, we give public hearing opportunities. The process you would use to adopt an ordinance, by the way, would be to put a notice in the paper, a special notice in the paper that you're going to hold a public hearing. Chief Bennett has indicated 2 public hearings that you would hold those public hearings. You would notice them in advance. You would give the public an opportunity to speak in those separate public hearings, and then at the end of all of that, you would adopt an ordinance. When an ordinance is adopted, generally the understanding is that you will have authority under an ordinance adoption to lien property. The statute says that you have the ability to lien property. And I've not ever found where a fee schedule adopted by resolution resulted in a lien foreclosure process happening. But there have been times when, through the adoption of an ordinance, a fee schedule through an ordinance process, that a lien foreclosure process.
Fee resolution.
User fees.
So in the past, you've always used the resolution process, and we've not ever talked about, because there's not ever been a high dollar amount of fees that were not being paid, and so it is cost prohibitive. It's not worth it to pursue a lien foreclosure action on a fee. So far, Chief Bennett indicated to me recently that some of the fees have not been paid, and the amount of the fees that have not been paid have been increasing. And so he asked me to speak on the difference between a fee schedule being adopted by resolution, where I would be reluctant to advise you to pursue a lien foreclosure action. I mean, if you want to try and make new law, we can. but I would not suggest doing that. If you think you really want to pursue foreclosing a lien, I would first suggest that you think long and hard about it before you incur the additional expense. But then secondly, I would say, if you're going to think about that in the future, my suggestion is the best way to set yourself in the best position possible to be successful would be to adopt an ordinance, use an ordinance process to adopt your fee schedule. There you go.
Just one quick question. If we adopted an ordinance schedule and we change our fees, what would be the process for changing our fees in such a situation?
Normally, the process is to use the same format to change what you have adopted by ordinance. That's the rule of thumb. I have seen situations, although I don't recommend it, but I have seen situations where the initial ordinance said that you could amend the fee schedule or the charges by a resolution process. The idea is that the public hearings and all of the extra effort to inform the public of your intention to adopt an ordinance and then to allow them to speak in a public hearing for the adoption of the ordinance occurs up front. When you establish and say, we will lien your property by this ordinance, we have authority to lien your property and we shall lien your property. That all happens essentially in the first ordinance public hearing adoption process. And then after that, some places do adopt fee schedules through resolutions, but if you've gone that far down the road, and I don't know how often, you don't adopt fee schedule amendments very often.
It's 4 years approximately since the last one.
So if you're going every 4 years, the extra cost to do the ordinance adoption process is not, it's not cost prohibitive, I would think. If you're doing it only once every 4 years or so, it would be okay to do that.
What are the other districts in this county do?
The ones that I represent and most of the ones I know about use a resolution with the understanding that if you're going to use the collection method that Chief Bennett has described, where you turn it over to a collection agency, and essentially they put forth their efforts and they take a part of a percentage of whatever dollars they collect through their efforts and then give you the balance, and then when they are done with their efforts, you're essentially done. You stop. You don't pursue anything after that.
Okay.
And I think that's what usually happens. And would be my suggestion would be the proper way to address those, unless you are starting to get a large dollar amount of fees. If people have reached the place where they essentially are ignoring you and are ignoring the district's fees that you charge, and they're not paying, everybody says, we're not going to pay because they don't have any enforcement authority, then you might think of doing something different too.
Is that the case?
It's not a really big problem that we have at this point. As far as construction inspections, we don't provide the inspection until the fees are paid. Same thing with the plan review aspect of it. It's the existing businesses. When we go out and do the first inspection, it's free. But if we have to go back for re-inspections, we do charge for that inspection. Some of those folks are reluctant, or their corporate offices may take quite a bit of time to actually process or pay those. Turning them over to collections, we've had some good luck with doing that, but again, we don't recover everything that we've put into that. And then some of these fees are rather small. By the time it gets through with collections, it may not be worth it to the district. My experience working with another organization, when I liened property after I completed work with them, as far as I'm aware, we never foreclosed on a lien. We just let the lien sit there and accrue interest.
And Madam Chair, if I may, that Chief Bennett is making reference to one point that I forgot to mention, and I apologize. If you have effected a lien, created a lien against a piece of real estate when that piece of real estate is sold, that lien that has been recorded pops up on a title search, and then whoever the seller is all of a sudden realizes, oops, I have to address this, I need to pay it, and or proof why it is not enforceable. If you have adopted your fee schedule through an ordinance process, then most folks who search title look at an ordinance as having the authority to impose a lien on real estate. And so there you would get some benefit of having an ordinance versus a resolution from that standpoint, from the standpoint that most folks recognize an ordinance gives you that authority to lien real estate, where a resolution maybe not so much. So that is a distinction. I apologize for not mentioning that earlier.
Well, it sounds like what we're doing now is cheaper than paying an attorney fee. Well, I'm sorry, Richard. But
I do not recall.
Okay. And the way Richard says and you say it's not a big deal.
Oh, just so the board's aware, there is a recording fee associated with each item when you lien. It's typically around $10 to $12.
Okay.
So if we had to lien something, there is a recording fee that's attached to that.
Okay.
Commissioner Kirk?
Yeah. Thinking about this and going through, as we're starting to go back into rebuilding and more construction is going on, we got new businesses coming in, we got all these people starting to, look at Lehigh. And, we've got to quit giving away free services. I'm sorry, but the fire department, everybody thinks we're supposed to be able to do the same thing we did in 1950, provided the 1950 services. And, as times change, we cannot be giving away free services for things that used to be free back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Even though we need to put the lien, after one or two businesses and they see it, they realize, oops, we need to do that, because of the fact that without us being there to check their property, without us providing this professional education and the evaluation, it puts their business at risk if they fail, and then puts the public at risk, and then puts our community at risk. And we need to be as much as we can, because every one of these businesses, on everything that we see here, affects each and every one of us, our neighbors, this business next door, no matter who it is. And I really feel we need to go ahead and do the ordinance and start doing for the liens, because the fact that the only thing we're going to be doing is growing. And yes, the liens may be a small amount, but the point is that people realize Lehigh is changing. It's not like what it was 20 and 30 years ago. We have to build, and we had all these new firefighters today. We have all this other, and I'm tired of giving away free services. Pay for growth, pay for the service, and if you don't want to pay for it, hey, put a lien against it, and we'll collect it, when you sell your property. But I really feel that we must go that route, and because we have, how's the false alarms going? Have we had many of the same companies anymore, or they got down to that again?
No, they've trimmed back. There's a lot more residences installing alarm systems, and they get their one or two alarms each year.
Okay.
And that's common.
Right.
The more homes we get here in Lehigh, we're going to get more businesses with alarms. When they go out and sell the system for intrusion alarm or burglar alarm, it's just a small additional cost to add a smoke detector in there, and that's what sends us out there. So, but for the most part, the businesses are not as bad. We do have some issues with some of the schools, but I'm working with the school district, talking to them about that. False alarms, I'm trying to resolve those.
Okay.
Programming issues, but yes, the program appears to be working.
Yeah, so my thought is to go ahead and do it as an ordinance with a area at the bottom of it. On the very last line, fees can be adjusted and capped or whatever, so we don't have to go back in as need be and approve the ordinance every 4 years, and and do the liens is where I would make the motion to do that. The ordinance with liens.
Go ahead. I got something. My question is, how many dollars did we not collect last year?
I don't have that information available.
2,000, 3,000?
Do you have anything, Larry?
6,000 probably.
5,000 or 6,000?
Yeah.
So it is quite substantial.
There is a couple businesses that we have that have never paid for inspection fees since I've been here. So those are the type of businesses I would target for liens. Everyone else that we've had success with the collections process, I'd say we continue moving forward with that. But the folks that are not paying, the collections agency, those are the folks that I would try to target for the lien process. So,
Mr. Evans?
So I guess what I'm trying to figure out here is, would it be financially for the district, trying to figure out where to put it this way, beneficial for the district to go for ordinance or stick with resolution? When you're looking at the money you're going to collect is attorney fees.
Yeah. Attorney fees.
Did you comment, question?
Well, it's the attorney fees. What's the approximate attorney fees for one lien? I mean, give me an estimate.
There's not. Let me clarify. There's not an attorney fee for the recording of the lien necessarily. Once the ordinance is imposed, is passed, is adopted, and the fee schedule is imposed by ordinance, then when a fee is not paid by ordinance, it automatically becomes a lien against the property. And so you would have a process in place where Chief Bennett would record a lien document in the public records, not me, but Chief Bennett would do that.
Staff would.
And that would establish, that would reflect in the public record the district's lien on that property. And then you might not do anything with it, and if that property sells in the next 5 years, that scenario I described earlier, where that lien would have to be resolved with the district, would then pop up, and then you could deal with it. Probably most of the effort would be on staff's part.
Yes.
Unless you decided, if somebody owes you, it's like right now I'm having to do quite a few lien foreclosure actions in Glades County, where the liens have accumulated to $35,000, $40,000 on one piece of property. And when they get to that level, then that's sometimes where it justifies spending legal fees to do a lien foreclosure action.
And they cannot challenge those fees?
I never said that.
Before you lien a piece of property, you have to send them a notice, let them know if they don't pay it, that there is going to be a lien imposed on the property, and that at that point they would have to.
There's a process, and I guess really my point simply is this: if there is an intention or an expectation that the district may want to impose a lien on property in the future, the best position for the district to be in would be to adopt an ordinance to give you that best opportunity. If you don't have any desire or intention to impose a lien on real estate because of this schedule of charges, then stick with a resolution. That's what generated all of this, was Chief Bennett asking me the best way to impose a lien on real estate, and I said ordinance is better than resolution. But I also said I'm not aware of any other district in Lee County that uses an ordinance process to adopt a fee schedule either. So there you have it.
One more question. You go with the ordinance, you put a lien on their property, then you got to I guess what I'm looking at is, you got one you're not going to pursue a lien on, you're not going to push it, but you got another one that you do. So what happens if you end up in court? Well, this person over here says, well, you've got a lien against so-and-so's property, but you're not making them pay. Why are you making me pay?
All right, go to the can of worms.
And then you're going to have, I'm looking at attorney fees,
Sure.
what it could add up to.
You're not mandated to pursue a foreclosure action. You're probably thinking back, Commissioner Adams, to a number of occasions when we were talking about the assessment process and having to be fair and equitable in the assessment that we imposed. There's not a fair and equitable argument to be made or defense that can be raised in the lien foreclosure action. I mean, that's really a decision by the board as to whether you want to pursue a lien foreclosure. It's case by case basis.
Yeah. And the foreclosure on a homestead property under this scenario probably would not work either. You're not going to be able to.
That's true. There are other limitations on abilities to lien homestead property. That's
commercial property, homestead?
No. So commercial property was what I was thinking about as being the issue more so than the homestead.
Right.
I'm not aware of. I mean, if you had a bunch of false fire alarms, maybe you would run up a tab on a homestead on a residential property, but otherwise, you're really talking about the commercial.
Yes.
The fees for the commercial property.
Do you have a question?
Well, it's more like a statement. So this ordinance would not have any teeth when it comes to exempt properties, like government properties, county properties, right? There's no teeth in it, correct?
I don't. I have never filed a lien foreclosure action against another government agency.
You can't.
The statute says that there's not an exemption in your statute for any property. The Constitution provides an exemption for homestead property from many liens, but I'm not. Again, that would be on a case-by-case basis, and I don't know that you would ever want to, if you would ever want to pursue. It says the district shall have a lien upon any real property, motor vehicle, marine vessel, aircraft, or rail car for any charge assessed under this subsection. It says you shall have a lien. That's a mandatory phrase. So, are there exceptions? Would there be exceptions? I think the Constitution provides some basic ones, but I don't know that any of those properties are properties that are being assessed charges that are not paying them anyway. So
yeah, what's the history? What's the history behind the ones not paying? I think
there are properties that are managed with people here locally. However, they're owned by folks either on the East Coast or out of state or out of area.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we go with an ordinance with the lien process to at least initiate it for the first time, because as Lehigh is growing, I think we need to change our ways. And like I said before, I'll make a motion that we go with the ordinance with the lien process and follow the directions under the Florida statute and the Florida Constitution as stated by Richard Pringle.
Do I have a second? I would second that motion. Richard, do I need a roll call vote?
no, ma'am, not for this action.
Okay.
No, ma'am.
All right, so all in favor, aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Of the ordinance?
Of the ordinance.
Aye.
All opposed, nay?
I'll say nay.
All right. Motion passes 4-1. Thank you. All right, we're moving on to,
Madam Chair, if I may ask a question,
Yes.
just to clarify. So the action the board just took was to give direction to Chief Bennett and with my assistance to bring an ordinance back to you to be adopted through a regular ordinance adoption process. So you'll see it, the next time you'll see it, it will be in a public hearing. We've been through public hearings before. We know how they work. But that's what I understand this motion, this board action was to direct us to do.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And then you'll get through to us through the normal channels.
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, next up on our agenda is outside contractor bids. Commissioner Cruz, that's me. And it is to review the current policy for obtaining outside contractor bids and make any possible changes for improvement. I guess the reason that I brought this up is because it was almost briefly mentioned at our workshop. I think the question came up, what was our amount that the chief could spend before getting board approval? Right. And one of my jobs as commissioner, I feel, is to watch the budget, and I really do that. So sometimes when I see amounts come through on our check register, I often call Larry, work through the chief, and call Larry to find out what they are. And I think one of the big ones was last month when we had a $10,040 check written out to a construction company, and that just kind of got me wondering, if that was again that magic number, and I wondered kind of what was up. So getting through Chief and through Larry and through Jeff, looked at the invoice and wanted to know about the bid process. So I think that's where we are right now. I feel sometimes as a commissioner, I'm in the dark about what's happening at our stations, and I want to know. I want to be in the loop. I want to know what are we planning. If we're remodeling a station, what are we doing, and what is that going to cost us?
Madam Chair, that's the reason months ago I think I brought up the idea of having some kind of reading file with all the contracts established where we could read to them and look at them and review over, I think, what's the determination? 10,000, about 10,000.
Well, I think that's what we were told, and I don't know.
Well, I don't know what the authorization is.
Resolution I sent out to everybody is basically something that was adopted apparently back in that number is 01.
Was that today, Chief?
No, it was 08. I think I sent it over to, I might have sent it to you.
Unless you sent
it was about 20,000 or something.
No, it's 30,000. It says the
30,000.
fire chief is hereby authorized to conduct certain district business, including entering into contracts and completing certain purchases on behalf of the district pursuant to the following guidelines and parameters. The fire chief cannot assign the authority granted herein to any third parties. I guess this is what you're looking for. The fire chief is authorized to conduct district business, including but not limited to negotiating and entering into contracts for the purchase of non-capital items such as equipment, personal property, services, and maintenance agreements where the total value of the non-capital business item is $30,000 or less. And the second caveat is the fire chief can conduct district business for non-capital items as described herein through any legal method, including but not limited to a contract, lease, or purchase order. All non-capital items, the total value of which exceeds $10,000, must be made pursuant to a written contract, purchase order, lease, or other written authorization signed by the fire chief. Everything that we do, and I've been working with Chief Bennett and Nickel on this, is like the stuff that we're talking about, or you were concerned about at Station 1, is something that was covered under building maintenance, something that was already in the budget. We have a line item for, and when we're going to remodel or put a new roof on a station, that's all approved by you folks in the budgetary process. I think was it last year we did a roof or something like that?
2 years ago, I believe it was.
Big items like that. we set aside specific, we earmark items in the budget for that on our backup page that we approve. Anything over and outside the ordinary, we would come back to the board and request if we have to move money into an item or whatever we have to do that. I'm not aware of any, personally, anything that we've done outside of the budget. Again, I think those, as we discussed before, the items that were at that station are actually three different jobs that were billed. One specific contractor that we utilize for building maintenance, like an electrical contractor that we utilize for electrical issues. We have a door contractor we deal with for all of our broken bay doors. They come in to service our doors, or if we have a catastrophic failure or whatever. And I think the one that Commissioner Cruz is referencing was kind of started out as the accident that happened when a car crashed in the station 1, and that those funds were reimbursed by insurance when we initially spent them with the contractor, and as a result of that crash, it was a lieutenant's sleeping quarters. We agreed to move that to the back of the station so it wouldn't be an issue. That required some permits to be pulled because we had to make some structural modifications to the station and whatnot, which resulted in what was stored or housed in that area to be moved somewhere else. And then there was some other talking to Chief Bennett, some fire code violation issues that needed to be fixed. All these things that required, some required permits and the services of an outside contractor. So there's like 3 items that were commingled there that amounted, I believe, to that $10,000 some odd dollars. So those are things that we would have covered, from my understanding, talking to Jeff, is that's covered under our maintenance, building maintenance line item.
Okay, just a few things. So did we ever get bids? I'm going to speak specifically for the accident and that retaining wall out front. Did we get bids for that, or did we just hand that out? And I know that was reimbursed, or at least partially reimbursed by the insurance company. But did we go out and solicit bids for those?
I try to solicit bids for every single item we do. The problem I end up having is contractors calling back to do work. I call general contractors, let them know what we need to have done, and sometimes I get calls from 3, sometimes I get calls from 1. It happened to be AMW was the only contractor that called back for that particular repair. I don't know what else
Same problem
with the wall behind
Winn-Dixie.
That's correct.
Truck rolled into that took probably
Took
6
3
plus months.
3 months to just find a contractor for that.
Anybody to do the work because it was such a small group. I don't know why.
Okay, so then when we moved on to, after the retaining wall was fixed and we decided to do some remodeling and move what was the lieutenant's room to the back, and then apparently some other things, and I'll be honest with you, I after seeing this the other day, or seeing this last month, I went out there and it's a hot mess. To put it lightly, what is now the day room used to be the old workout room is now the day room, and that is where the TV is, and there's only room for 3 chairs in there. So at a station that houses 5 to 6 people, only 3 can go into that day room unless they want to sit on the floor or bring a little chair. And again, I'm not. Some of you know my background and experience in fixer-uppers and construction. I look at the cost of these repairs, and I'm going to tell you that I could be a weekend warrior in one case, and I could have saved the district $3,600. And I'm just to the point right now where I know the budget and I know what we have here. It's a line item budget. We've got $75,000 in there this year. Right now, none of the line items, if you will, have any figures next to them, although last year we did. So with that $75,000 for maintenance, building maintenance specifically, we have spent $48,800, almost $49,000 so far. So that leaves us $26,000 left in that maintenance building, specifically building maintenance budget. And I guess where I'm going with this is that I want to be good stewards of the taxpayer dollars. And I want to know, I feel as a board, we should know, what have we got planned? I mean, if we're going to be doing some work on Station 3, and we're going to be doing some, what I consider to be some kind of major remodeling, if we have to pull building permits and things like that, I want to know where we're going with that, and I don't want that, I want it to be meaningful. I don't want that money to be wasted, and I don't want to, I want to look at down the road at a big long-term picture and say, okay, is this going to be, is having 3 chairs in the day room going to be what's right for the people that spend 1/3 of their life there? So I want some more communication with the board. I mean, if we're going to be putting on a new roof somewhere, I'd like to know that. If we're going to be doing whatever, I'd like to know that, and I'd like it supported with bids. And if we can't get bids, then I would like at least documentation of who we tried to contact for bids.
Madam Chair.
Yes,
That's the reason I asked for this list. Okay, we need a list of contracts, proposed contracts, at least for us to see what's going on, to keep informed.
I think what you were asking for it had to do with policies and guidelines, not reading file or something like that you associate. But we don't have any contracts with anybody. There are no contracts. The only contracts I'm aware of that I've executed is with our ambulance billing company. Approved by the board as well as.
I think you were talking about the.
Either contracts or proposed action, you know.
Well, like the maintenance contract. If that's
Air
the word I want to use for the air conditioning
and for the lawn maintenance and things of this nature.
Refrigeration company and things like that.
Do we have an existing list out there that we maintain surveillance status of these type of projects? Is there like a login that we maintain? We get a copy of that.
I believe Larry has copies of all the contracts. Well, the only contracts, not again.
Yeah.
I'm more familiar with the EMS side of things. I don't get too involved in the building maintenance side, but we have a structure maintenance contract. We have a physio life pack maintenance contract. Those maintenance contracts are actually approved, and now it's in the budget. In the physical, talking about the physical paper contracts, would be on file. Either Mark would have EMS contracts in Larry, or all our ambulance billing stuff with Vanessa. I don't know if we have. If we scan these things and we have them somewhere, we have the actual contracts we have to sign off on. But there's not that many, when you're talking about contracts, other than maintenance contracts, that's all I'm aware of, and they're not very, there's not very many of them.
These are not contracts per se. They're a contractor that we hire to do repairs.
Right. Okay.
So if you would like me to give you all of my contacts every time I have a project that I need done, and you would all like emails of every time I need a project done, I can certainly do that.
I got a better solution though.
No.
I know you keep everything very meticulously, Jeff, and you do it on a database, I believe, if I remember, or
correct.
Spreadsheets, Excel, done by a monthly basis, and so forth. But when we have a project, you have the line of I sent or requested RFP from this company, and this company. Got a response from this one, no response, got a response. This way, we don't, we can access the database or the file sheet on a monthly basis, so we don't reinvent the wheel. And if we, because we wanted to keep the transparency of having at least 3 RFPs for everything, and if we only get one, hey, it's noted on there, no response, and the date, no big deal. And, but that way, if you do it, and you do it that way or in a spreadsheet, and if we just are able to have access or somehow have on a monthly basis, because there's only going to be 4 or 5 items anyway, or maybe 1 or 2 items. I don't know.
I can add that into the monthly report.
Yeah.
That you guys get in your book.
Same follow with the lawn maintenance. We
Yeah.
hounded people for months.
For months, and
we had one.
had one, and then
Then
we finally
again,
got.
Once we hired him, then we had 3 or 4 that came after that.
Yeah.
Now, the other station, because you brought up station number 1, there's a long history of number 1, and the reason being on that, because it was the first station in Lehigh. That used to be where we used to have our board meetings many years ago, before we outgrew that building, and the public couldn't go in, and we outgrew it, and we started moving elsewhere. And because of the design of that building when it was built back, 35, 40 years ago, it's going to take a major amount to redesign that building. And you know, it's what it is on there right now, you know. And it's our only building that's got one of the old-fashioned hose hangers that you can hang your hose and dry them that a lot of people don't use anymore. But the point is that building has limitations, and the only way to fix those limitations is to do a remodel of the area, which is going to cost us several $100,000 to rebuild, remodel, take out, and so forth, which we don't have. But, you know, we can always put it in as a capital improvement for the future, as a wish list item when we start getting more money in, more impact fees, more whatever we have. But, you know, I think we need to be lucky that we have the buildings, the standing to put our people in to respond to our responses.
Okay. Commissioner Barker.
How much do we collect on insurance on that?
$11,000 was there?
25.
25.
Station 1 accident is about 25,000.
25,000 on that.
This was included in that 25,000.
No, it was not.
No,
This is over
this is
above it.
over.
This is over above it. This was relocating the lieutenant's
Well,
bedroom to the
Like I
back.
said, we had several different projects done in Station 1. The repair from the accident was about 25,000, which we were reimbursed by the insurance company, and then we had some additional work done down there.
We had additional work moving the lieutenant's room to the back, which they had to install a wall and a door and relocate.
You have to get details.
Yeah, that was $2,400 or $6,400, and then the
Kind of the difficulty in these type jobs because they have to go visit and look at that to give you a quote
bid
on what work they're going to do and exactly how they're going to do it, that kind of thing. So if you don't get people to respond to go look at bid and to give you a quote on it,
then you're further behind.
So.
We wouldn't have
Creates
done
a-
any of it. It
creates
was
an
always
issue.
the result of the crash. So we
Yep.
had to modify the current. And I haven't walked into the day room at Station 1 in quite some time. I don't know if that has been changed at all in there. But
They changed the day room to the gym, and a lot of the firefighters requested that. They wanted a larger gym because the lieutenant's room, the new lieutenant's room, was the old gym,
which was very tight.
Which was, well, it's about the same size as that day room that they had. So
It's small.
well, the day room they have now
The
is
day
small.
room is small.
That is correct.
is there one day room or is there two?
There's
Before
actually
it used to be 2 day rooms.
there is two. One in the kitchen. They set that up. That
Half
can
the
be a
guys
day
were
room.
there,
Yeah.
half the guys were down. I mean, we can only do what we can do.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess where I'm going with this is that, and I know years ago, different board, there used to be committees, and one of the committees was like a building committee, if you will, and if anything at all, what that committee did, it was a liaison between, the department, the staff, and the board, the rest of the board, as to what is the plan for the future, and what needs, what's an emergency, what's down the road some. So I guess where I'm going with this is 2 things. Number 1, I want to be kept in the loop. So I'm going to ask us not to be doing anything unless it's an emergency. Let's not, yes, yeah, I'm going to say this for a reason. Let's not, cover the bay floors with special rubber locking squares or whatever they are. I want to be in the loop as a board. I think we have to be that. we have to be in the loop for big expenditures like that. I mean, it's just what we do. That's why we're here. And then the second thing is just to continue in pushing to get bids, and let me know if you have problems.
I do that every single time.
I can help.
Now, one last
Okay. Go
real
ahead,
quick for
Commissioner
John.
Carter.
Yep. Last thing, John, because I know that with the 30,000, if we had an emergency happen and you have to replace something, do the whatever needs because it's mission essential. Every time, if we went under that and it cost 22,000 or 35, we'd have to have a special board meeting, or call each one of us to find out how we're gonna, if we want to approve it. And that was the reason why a part of that 30,000 is to keep it operational, so that we can keep this department operational without having to call board meetings every time we want to spend a dime that's required for an emergency, a disaster, or mission essential. A truck went out. Oh, we need to go. It's going to cost us this amount to fix it, and because we blew 3 tires, it was going to cost what, 18,000. Well, and we only had a 10,000 limit. That means you got to come back to us to ask us for the extra 8,000. But we need to make sure that everything's operational. And you all do a great job. Jeff does a great job. Everybody does. But it's just put it on the database. Give us just a monthly list. And I think it would be great, because that way I don't want to micromanage. I just want to see where it goes, but I'm not going to micromanage. That's your job to run where it goes. Jeff's job to know how to fix it and make sure it works. And Ken's job to make sure it doesn't burn down. So it's like,
The only thing I've ever signed off that is 5 digits or even more are approved purchase orders for capital equipment. It's already in the budget.
So-
or service contracts are already in
So,
the budget. So
I have no problem
you're not
with
going
it.
to find one in excess of $10,000 on anything.
May I ask a question? Or is this request for buildings, or does this include everything, equipment?
Well, we
Vehicle
have,
repairs.
okay, in our budget, we have line items for equipment, all right, that have already been approved. But if you look at our line item for building, building maintenance, I mean, we've got a $75,000 budget, and it was never broken down as to what the budget was for each line, if you will.
Oh, the justifications in it?
I'm sorry?
The justifications in the line items?
Justifications. Like, this is last year's,
Okay.
and it's all there. All right, so what I'm looking, like, granted, I know we had the accident at Station 1, and we had to take care of that retaining wall, so I get that. I would consider that like a priority.
Sure.
But at the same time, from the records, the remodeling and such was done in December. Well, actually, we were billed in December, so I'm assuming that they did that prior to being billed. So, I mean, that would have been something that we could have been, kind of made aware of. And I think for me, the big was not having a bid to go to and see any bids. I understand the situation now with the building picking up, but
Just for record, I mean, we all went over that budget many
Oh, I know we
times,
did.
approved it in workshops and special meetings and
But
finalization.
that-
And now those individual numbers may have been left off in error. Generally,
that I'm
we got
not.
them
I'm not
broken
so
down.
much worried about that. What really disturbed me. What really disturbed me is the cost, and also the end result. And I'll stop that there now, and we'll proceed to our next agenda item, which is Commissioner Smith.
Okay. Can we go ahead?
Yes.
Should we lease, may I have a question?
Commissioner Becker.
Commissioner Carter spoke to Jeff about, he has a spreadsheet. Could we at least see if that would work? Is because there's no reason to micromanage.
I thought we were going, he was
Yeah.
going to do
Yeah,
that.
he is going to do that.
I'll try and
But
include
if
that
we've
in my.
got something big coming up.
Yeah.
If we've got something big coming up, I think we
Well,
should.
you don't know.
we
This
should
is
know
this
that.
what you have coming up sometimes is not always the case. If we have a door collapse,
Oh, that's an
out here.
emergency.
That's emergency.
Okay.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, is there any, I mean, just to make it easy, because I don't think you want to have a spreadsheet on when we order, 75 cases of pillowcases and sheets for the year. You know, I mean, are you talking, is there some type of threshold level, I mean, to make it easier so we're not creating much of extra work for, the divisions?
The last thing I want to do is have you, like add to your, the work. But
I just want to give you what you want. So
Yeah.
I just
Well,
want to make sure we give you what you
My
want.
thought is just major, if it's going to, be within that 10 to 30 or, major things. Nothing,
Remodeling a room.
yeah, major.
Something like
Expendable
that.
items I don't want.
Okay.
It just, construction, anything that is a major,
It's outside of what's already approved in the budget.
yes, outside.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about.
Whether it falls under a maintenance line item or not.
I don't care where it falls.
Just-
We just want to know what's going
This
on.
Got
only gives us a heads up, and it's
Yep.
not
Yeah. Anything that any type of larger project that needs to happen, like say
Got it.
we've got to do the oak trees at Station 3. They need to be trimmed. You'd like to know how much that's going to be beforehand from our contractor. Not a problem.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, well, he gives us a discount if he does all 5 at the same time.
I don't want to discuss that right now.
All right, Commissioner Smith.
Okay. I give the chief the benefit of the doubt here. He may have been given direction to operate in the manner for which he was operating, filling out the DOR form, 409 Alpha. He may have been given that authority, but ever since I've been on the commission, my understanding is that this was going to be done, this type of action was going to be done by the owner of the property. We were going to send that owner down to the property records office to get that solved. This is what has always been told when we discuss this issue. So now when we start taking action like this, we're acting in the sense of a property appraiser for the district, because we're issuing a special form for the Department of Revenue. So do we have that skill? Do we have
Well,
that?
it's first of
You know
all,
what I'm saying?
Yeah, but that's not the way it works.
Okay.
What you've done is you've adopted an ordinance. I got me saying ordinance. A resolution regarding exemptions. There's 6 categories of those exemptions.
Correct.
And then what happens if somebody wants to become exempt under one of those 6 exemptions, they have to provide us documentation from the property appraiser's office that verifies that they meet said exemption. So that's on them. Once they provide that documentation to the district has to fill out, the local government representative, which is myself, has to fill out this form so they get that exemption. I think what you're talking about is if people have an issue with how their property is classified, we send them to the property appraiser's office because
Correct.
we can't make those changes. So and there's been 6 of these since the very beginning.
Well-
And I have all those. And all they are is simply somebody who is totally permanently disabled, falls under code, whatever it is that we approve. They provide us that documentation from the property appraiser, and then all we do is I have to fill out the parcel number, the name, the address, and it's going from 292 to 0. And then we provide it to them, and they're rebuilt. That's the process.
We provide it to the tax collector.
The tax collector.
Because remember, our FAR fee assessment is not billed by the property appraiser in the trim process. It's billed by the tax collector.
That was my understanding. We would be
Because
sitting
the tax
to the
collector, the
president.
property
Right.
appraiser, and the local government, and then the Department of Revenue, property tax oversight. So everybody catches it so it doesn't happen again. And that's all that we've been doing. That's all that I have done.
So they're coming back to you from the property appraiser and showing you the proof, and then you're just filling out the 409,
Yeah, 'cause
submitting it to
we
department.
have to. They will not get it. It's the government representative and the government unit or tax authority. That's all it is. It takes me 30 seconds. And again, there's been 6 of them.
Okay. I think there was a church involved where we made a reduction in the value.
I can tell you, if you'd like.
I
I'll
don't
send them
remember
all to
what
you.
church that was.
We have one parcel that's owned outside the country in the United Kingdom. Individual was being assessed for $292, and they apparently had to demo the house, and it wasn't caught on the tax roll yet. It wasn't updated by the time they pulled it. They provided me a demolition permit. You can look on Google Earth and see that there's not a house there. It's a slab. So it went from 292 to 21. The other one was a totally, it was a government-owned parcel that was sold. So it went from 0 to 292. The county sold the parcel to an individual.
Okay.
Then the other one went, this one was totally and permanently disabled. They were 292. They meet one of the 6 criteria. It went from 292 to 0. There was one church that was, they provided a religious property classification. It fell under one of your previous, adopted resolution categories. Went from $8,184.28 to 0. There was one that was reduced, and this was the only one, and I assisted them because I think it's our duty to help some of these folks. It was a property owner, a commercial property owner that came in, and quite honestly, their parcel was not assessed accordingly. I walked the property with the owner for a couple hours. It was very evident that they had up $2,000 and something worth of patio that they were assessed through the Lee County Property Appraiser's Office. They didn't exist. There's no patios on that building. It was built in 1970 some odd, whatever. There's no patio. So they were getting assessed for an extra $2,500 roughly for something 8.5. They provided us that information. I walked out there, looked at it, said, I agree. That's a mistake on the county. Got no problem filling out the form for you, helping you out. So we did that, reduced that by $2,500. And the latest one was, again, a change of parcel ownership. The county took a right-of-way. It was billed to the previous property owner for $21, but we have to bill government entities separate, so we had to reduce it to 0 and bill them, and that bill went out today. So they went from 21 to 0, so we can rebill them for 21, and they'll pay us at 21. Those are the only ones that we filled out.
Okay.
Sounds ridiculous, but we, in your resolution, we bill government-owned entities separately. And they said, we don't mind paying it, but your own resolution, you have to bill us separately, and you have to reduce that on the tax bill, and then bill us separately. And Jeff Rackley confirmed that went out today.
I just simply want to make sure we weren't operating like a property appraiser. That's all. And it doesn't look like we did, but all right.
So that I'm just following the guidelines that you folks implemented, and that's what you pay me to do, and it is what it is.
Mr. Smith, are we okay?
I withdraw this summary.
Okay. All right, thank you. We'll move on with our agenda. And we are... Thank you. Fire Inspector. Chief Wayne.
You have the executive summary in the book. Basically, a little history on this. Obviously, we know that our previous IT person has not been with us for quite some time, had a family emergency, left the area. We ended up contacting that individual and asked them if they want to go on FMLA leave. Sue was able to do that for them. They exhausted all their leave time. FMLA came up, I believe, the month of January, and our IT specialist has failed to return to the district, so we've basically terminated that employment. While he was gone, one of our engineers in-house he was the one helping out when we didn't have an IT specialist, part-time. He's been doing it for probably going on 2 years now. He's been doing it since November, doing a phenomenal job. Enjoys the position, works with fire marshals, as Chief Bennett, on a day-to-day basis, and basically we're kind of at a crux, if you will, of what are we going to do with this position. We're getting ready to bring, obviously we brought building plans review back into the district. Benita Springs is not providing that to us anymore. We outsourced it. Pre-plans is something that we're going to start working on quite heavily. It's one of the areas of our ISO inspection that we can improve on. That's highly involved in IT support in our computer systems. We have all that software installed on all of our computers. phase 2, I think, has been completed on that. So I talked to Assistant Chief Bennett about this, and I think we have a solution that is a win-win for the individual as well as the department, and it meets our needs. What I'm requesting is to put in a second fire inspector position, and we're not going to fill the IT position. Individual who does IT for us now is also a fire inspector as well as an arson investigator, has all the classes and requirements for that. Obviously, we know we've been out without 2 fire inspectors since 2009, and they need help in that division as well. So it's our idea or intent is to put this individual over the fire inspections and give him part of the IT duties as well with Assistant Chief Bennett to be able to take care of IT, keep it all under life safety, and he'll be working as a fire inspector and on rotation as arson investigator and helping out and kind of spearheading the building pre-plan program as well. It results in a savings of approximately $36,000 to the district because $45,000 we had set aside for the IT position we won't spend. 9 of that will go to the person who fills Tim's position, who was an engineer. So there'll be a $9,000 increase in a promotion for that individual. So we're not putting any additional personnel on the department. We still are at the same amount of employees. But what we've done is we kind of are covering 2 positions with 1 individual who has a special skill set, if you will, that can do our IT in-house. We already know him. We don't have to worry about going outside. And again, we kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. We save, over 3/4 of the previous salary that we would have expended. So it's an overall savings in the district. We meet all the needs of the district when it comes to IT and helping out with the inspection side of it that we're short in. And that's kind of where we're at with that. That's our idea of what we'd like to present to the board to see if we can get the approval to do that again at a savings of approximately $36,000, which will go down even more when the employee hours of work change and go back to a 40-hour work week. An impact of that promotion will be decreased by approximately $5,000 because of FLSA overtime, so we'll spend another $5,000 at that time for a total of about $41,000 savings in the next fiscal year.
Okay. Yeah. So let me get this straight. We have an engineer who's qualified as arson investigator, inspection and fire inspector, and IT that will be moving or could move into this position. Then you'll have another individual that will then get promoted and get moved up into the engineer position, and so forth. Okay. Will the position be this inspector be paid the same as the other, or are they the same range, or one's higher than the other, or lower, or are they within the same range?
Well, he would move over with his current salary right now, which is outside of the range for the position, again, because he's filling 2 duties and has a special skill set. I've been in contact with the union president, Fort Myers, and kind of put this in front of him as well. And what the agreement would be is that they're willing to help us with this as well because they understand what we're trying to do. It provides, a promotion for one of their other members as well. It allows us to fill 2 positions with 1 person, and because he has a special skill set nobody else has, we would compensate him accordingly. So in essence, he would move over in kind, and the union would be willing to enter into an agreement with us that this would be a one-time instance, that this would not be used for past practice if we in the future decide to put 2 more inspectors on, let's say 5 years from now, and somebody moved from the floor over for whatever position they would, just like any other promotion, they go into the step 1 of that next higher position, if you will. In this instance, it's not really apples to apples because this individual is also an IT specialist, would be filling 2 positions, so it's our intent to move him over in kind. The union's willing to work with us on that. If we can get the approval from you tonight, then if we can work that out with the union, then it's a go. If we can't, then we'll have to worry about that.
And we do have a staff vehicle for.
He currently has a staff vehicle.
Yes.
Okay. He's working as the IT specialist and comes in on weekends and after hours or whatever he needs to do. So he already has a vehicle.
So this gentleman will be working with the plans.
Plans review.
He will do that. He will do the IT. He will do
the pre-planned IT
support fire inspector.
Correct, as well as
support
rotation fire in the arson
and so when he's gone, we will definitely have someone else here for investigations.
The plan is, if I may, the plan is to utilize Tim in a at least 30 hours capacity to get these big projects done, the IT projects that we're finishing up now. He's rolling out Barracuda. We should have that finished up. We were hoping to have it finished up this week, but there's still some small problems with the firewalls we're setting up. So he's working to resolve those issues. He's going to be working to get our pre-plans up and running. That's something we just haven't had the staff to do. We've offered it out to the firefighters. Some of those have expressed interest in it, and others haven't. So he's going to be working with the firefighters to get those out and running. That's probably going to take 2 years to happen. We will assign him an inspection zone for him to cover that area once he gets up and running. And yes, he will be available to respond after hours to fire investigations. Now, I did talk to Tim this last week, and he doesn't have his fire investigator yet. He's one class short. So he's almost there to having his fire investigator done. So, but he doesn't necessarily have to possess a fire investigator certificate from Tallahassee to provide fire investigations. It's not required by the state of Florida yet.
If there isn't any more questions, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay. I have just questions for thought. I think one of my concerns is my deepest concern, and I have, just so it's out there, I have to separate sometimes the person from the position. And I have to look at this in, step back and look at it in a completely different way. And after what we did last month, and at the end of our meeting, Chief, telling us that he's not looking to renew his contract, I'm looking at it from a standpoint of we have a new chief that's coming in 90 days. And what will that new chief want to do? And I hate to play devil's advocate all the time because I know that's what you're all thinking, but that's my leadership style, is to step back, take myself out of the position, and the people that I know and that are part of our family, I have to look at this as a business. And so my only concern is that what happens if we do this tonight, and then 90 days from now or 120 days from now, a new chief steps in and totally wants to change things around, which could very likely happen. So that's my concern, and we'll go from there.
Well, you just brought up another point too.
I still would like to.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the other point that is, we've been investing a lot of money in some of our staff who all of a sudden have great intentions, then all of a sudden they're here and they disappear. And it's like, and then we got to go back and reinvent the wheel again. And it's like when we move people into positions, I would like to see somehow some type of thing as I will stay here in this position for 2 years or whatever, and said, I'm here, I like it, I don't like it, 90 days from now, I'm going to quit. It's like, we're not a revolving door anymore. And we can't run a business as a revolving door. And yes, he'll probably doing a great job, but I would love to have a guarantee that he's going to be here, provided, the earth doesn't crack up. At least a year or 2 years for the amount of money that we invested in him.
Mr. Mace isn't going anywhere. He's got a long time to
go. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. It's just like what we did for the last IT. And
that's what you get going to the outside. That's why we're trying to say we know what we have here. We know he's invested here. He's got time here. He wants to stay here. This is his desire to do this. That's why we gave him a shot at it.
Right.
But it's more beneficial for us as an organization, I think, to give him that dual role responsibility. Again, we're not bringing anybody else on. It's not an increased cost of the district. It's kind of a win-win for
I agree.
everybody. We're having a very hard time, getting anybody to fill, obviously, our fire inspection slots.
I agree with you.
So I think this is a good opportunity to offer it to somebody who really wants to do it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. But somewhere in there, I just need to make sure that they understand when you move into these key positions, you got to give us some time there before you leave instead of 30, 60, 90 days, and I'm gone. You know what I'm saying?
Unfortunately, the only thing that we do that contractually is with sending somebody to school. They have to give us 3 years of employment.
we can't guarantee
contractually.
that.
We never know what we're going to get when we hire a group. If we hired 12 people came in tonight, they may be gone in 90 days and maybe here for 9, 10.
Yeah, I know, but it's just, I hate to see it revolving door. That's just my little thing.
This is a quick question. Is this position under District 19 or District 6?
6.
It's under District 6. So if we have a new chief that comes in and decides he wants to do some reorganizations, would there be a problem with dropping this person back down to engineer?
He can't unilaterally do that. I couldn't unilaterally do that. You'd have to demote him. I mean, I don't know.
It would be demotion.
He would have to have a reason to do it. You just can't pluck somebody out of a position and unilaterally like that. He's in a contract position. He's in that position. And the IT position was an administration, different story. They work at the pleasure of the board down and work in handbook, if you will, but they're not contracted. So in this instance, if a new chief came in, or when you do come in and they want to put on an IT person, I would come to you folks and ask for your blessing on filling that position, even though it's a vacant position. I don't fill slots unless they're operational on the floor, firefighters, paramedics, EMT, that type of stuff, unless I come to the board and ask you, because that's just the way I do it.
So keeping that in mind and knowing that he's been filling in the capacity that he's been in, and I totally understand, and kudos to him. I know he's a very valuable employee. Would it be possible to keep him in the position that you have him in right now, doing what he's doing right now, until such time that a new chief comes in and makes that determination about positions and that?
Everything's possible. I just think at this point, we need the help in the life safety prevention. Again, they're in the same capacity since 2009, and we've gotten busier. I really don't see, in my opinion, Tim is really, really, really good at what he does, and that's a very hard position just to find somebody with a skill set for the type of money that they get in other fire departments, 6-digit numbers for a size like we have. It's a great grab for us to be able to cross over and do both of these things. He's just a really, really good catch for this hybrid position.
And do you think that it will still keep our outside vendor, IT vendor costs low?
Yeah, right now, and Chief Bennett could tell you more about that, but we're not utilizing CRS very much at all for anything.
They've been helping with the Barracuda, getting set. They have been helping with that, getting set up, and as well as Server 5, one of the server we decommissioned this year. There were some hidden issues embedded in that server that have really been giving us a hard time moving those issues or those processes and functions over to the other servers that we weren't aware of.
So you think it's going to be manageable?
Something else to consider with Mr. Mace
I'd like
also.
to make a motion that we give the chief authority to fill that vacant position.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
And I'll say aye. All right, let's move on to job description and qualifications. Chief job descriptions and qualifications, and I think
this is the clean copy I laid down on your desk before you were here. This is the clean.
This is the
copy.
new.
The scribble on, but this is the current one that we have next.
Okay, current one that we have now, clean copies.
I'll just keep them recorded. Sit Pat, take one and pass it
Additional
on.
information.
Okay.
As an info.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Steve. I'm sorry. I'm trying to bring it up.
if I may. I've had some conversations. I've had 3 conversations with the 3 folks that I mentioned I would talk to at the workshop just the other evening. It seems like we were just here. And part of the conversation that I will have with you, part of my presentation to you about the approval of the process, the next bulleted item, actually applies to the chief job description and qualifications item. So I would ask you, if you wouldn't mind, to flip those 2 items on your agenda, and if you, in that way, if we talk about the process first, I will say things about the chief job description item that might help you make a decision with that as well.
All right, certainly, that sounds good. So we'll move on to the approval of process nationwide or statewide and selection of consultant, and then we'll go backwards.
Thank you very much. Hopefully that'll save us a few minutes. At the workshop, we talked about, and with everything that's been going on, I was able to get some phone calls made, but they were fairly brief, except for one. I contacted 3 folks. I contacted Dr. Margaret Banyan. I mentioned her name before. She's the professor at FGCU. I contacted Jean Powell. She is the consultant who is assisting Iona McGregor Fire District with their chief selection process and has assisted Iona McGregor with a number of other items and is very qualified. And I also I also contacted a gentleman named Jim Steffens. He is the gentleman the consultant who recently assisted Fort Myers Beach Fire District with a nationwide search for a fire chief. Out of those 3, I can tell you just very briefly, with other workload requirements and other commitments, work commitments, both Dr. Banyan and Jean Powell are not available in the next 90 to 120 day window. So that means they are not going to be able to assist you. I also contacted Mr. Steffens. Mr. Steffens is available. Mr. Steffens indicated that he would be glad to assist the district. Mr. Steffens, with the work that he just did for Fort Myers Beach Fire District, is familiar with the area. Mr. Steffens is a teacher at the National Fire Academy and has been for many, many years. So his opinion is that he has connections on a nationwide level to assist the district with a nationwide search if that is what the district decides to do. He talked about the process that was used at Fort Myers Beach Fire District and gave me a brief description of that process. And the essence of that process is it's going to take about a 90 to 120 day window to complete the process at a nationwide search level. He indicated that in response to his advertisements that his company made, Fort Myers Beach Fire District received 40 responses. And remember, they have an ambulance service too. They received 40 responses. About half of those, about 20 of those were from Florida. The other 20 or so were from out of state. Mr. Steffens narrowed down the list of responders down to about 15 responders. Then a committee was established, and he would suggest that you use essentially the same process. That's why I'm going through all this for you. A committee was then established. It will have to be a Sunshine Law committee. You'll have to meet in the sunshine, public meetings, and noticed, etc., for the record. And the committee was made up of a combination of employees, a representative of the bargaining unit or units. Yes, sir. That the idea was that you want to have buy-in and involvement by the employees in the 2 bargaining units that are here, 6 and 19. And so there were folks involved from the bargaining unit. This is at Fort Myers Beach. and there were several citizen committee members. That all of these folks would be appointed by the board to sit on this committee. One was a resident, one was or about three were business people in the district as well. And they had they had several committee meetings, which were sunshine law meetings, and they further reduced the list of responders from 15 down to 4, and then those 4 responders were brought to the board, and the board then made a decision on a selection. Once that list was reduced by the committee, that would involve the community then. Those 4 responders took the, I think I mentioned at the workshop, the XT profile process. Mr. Steffens indicated that it was actually not a bad evaluation to go through, and if you use it with the last 3 or 4 or 5 responders that are shortlisted before they come to the board, then the cost is not excessive for that process to occur. And then the results of that can be used as a part of the board's evaluation and final selection. The other part that occurred after the shortlisting down to 3 or 4 or 5 responders was I call it a meet and greet. We did this at Ione and McGregor as well, where the 4 or 5 responders had an opportunity to meet and greet the employees of the district as a group, and there could be interaction, questions and answers could occur. That would be in a formal setting, more of a meet and greet setting, versus the responder sitting at the table and receiving questions in a formal setting. So Mr. Steffens said that part of the process worked very well. And then the employees would have an opportunity to provide their input to you, their opinions to you on an individual basis as to what they thought about the candidates as well. So with that process that he described, ultimately when it all came to the board, there was community involvement through the committee. There was employee involvement through the meet and greet process. There was the analysis and the profile that was done. There were experience reviews based upon their applications. There were questions. He said he knows a lot of folks around the country, and so he would call people that knew people that might know some of the candidates and would be able to gather information. All of that would then come before the board. The board would then interview on a one-on-one basis, interview the finalists. That is okay. That's not a violation of the Sunshine Law to do that. And then the very last step would be a public board meeting. And at that public board meeting, there would also be interviews. And remember, I mentioned involving the public. That would be the opportunity for the public to be involved as well and to give further input. So not only would the public be involved at this committee meeting level, but they would also be involved in the public meeting where you would make a final decision. So after interviews, then public comment, which is all similar to what I've done before, then it would come to the board for a decision. The first step in all of this process would be, most likely because of your desire to move the process forward, a special meeting where I'm thinking a special meeting where you would most likely hire Mr. Steffens and approve his contract. He said probably around the $12,000 number. I asked him that question, and which I think is about what he charged over at the beach as well. I think is the same number. So 90 to 120 days, $12,000. He would administer the process. That's what I told you before. He would be a facilitator, but also shortlist candidates in the beginning. He would create the notice. The first thing at that special meeting also, after you select him, if that's the desire of the board, then at that meeting, he strongly suggested that he have an opportunity to review your job description and requirements to see if that if those requirements would fit in with a nationwide search. He said a local search and/or an in-house search might very well have different requirements than a nationwide search. That's why I wanted you to take this item before you took the other item. If you decide to go with discussing with Mr. Steffens, you may want to hold off on doing the job description qualifications until that special meeting when he's able to give you some input on what would work for a nationwide search. I think that's the essence of it. Oh, and at that special meeting you would decide, verify, confirm that you do want to do a nationwide search. He strongly recommended that you start with a nationwide search. If you're going to consider that later, just go ahead and do it and see what the candidate pool is. And Florida. I think that's it.
Just one question,
I'm sorry.
because you did say that he was saying between 90 and 120 days for a nationwide search, and I guess my next question would have been, what if we don't do a nationwide search? Would that, reduce the time frame?
That it would not reduce it much. I told him about the chief's dates, and that I thought July 4th was the last date under the employment agreement, but that with chief's vacation and things, the chief had indicated that his last day of actual on the job site work would be the end of May. And he said that doing a nationwide search, unless we started tomorrow, it would be real difficult to be successful. He said that you really need that what happens, especially with a nationwide search or even a statewide search, you put the notices out and then people see the notice that might not want to respond, but they know somebody. And so there's some time when it trickles through, the notice trickles through the community at the national level, so that folks, that Chief Smith knows Chief Jones might be interested in a job in Lehigh Acres, and so he calls Chief Jones, and that takes time for that trickle down effect to occur. That's why I said don't short yourself by shorting the time frame.
All right, Commissioner Carter.
Okay, good. One of the things that, whatever way that we do, and we looked at this when we did this years ago on the other ones, and one of the things is it has to be similar or large size and scope. We are 144 square miles of Lehigh Acres, approximately the same size as Orlando. So, somebody that's got to be, and we run an ambulance service, and where we're actually larger than Cape Coral, to the point that somebody who's going to have to cover that amount of size, because we are growing, we're building, and it's got to have somebody that can handle the scope and size of a community that large. It's like taking a township fire chief that runs 4 stations. I think I'll tie to that. And it's like, I'm sorry, you can't handle 144 square miles when all he's got is 25 square miles. And we've got to be able to get the best person in here to cover that, because we want it for at least a 5 to 7 year time frame. So it's like, so we don't have to go through this every 3 years, and use them as they use it as a retirement place for them to build retirement. We want retention. And, like I say, even if we go with the national, that includes the state of Florida, because I believe Florida is part of the national policy and national thing. And it's like, we need to have people that are able to cover large areas. And, if somebody covers 100 areas, or like Fort Myers Beach, we're they're a fraction of what we are. They don't have the responsibilities that we have. So we've got to have somebody that's capable of a global, larger facility. And how would you address that on that?
If I may, Madam Chair. Very simply, I would suggest, again, that special meeting opportunity with whoever you want. If you want to talk to Mr. Steffens, if you really believe you may select him to be your consultant, and right now I don't know of any other names to give you at this point, then I would strongly suggest that as quickly as you are able, that you meet directly with him. I would not want to have any of the comments you have made, all of which are very good comments, to be lost in my ability to not recall this evening as I pass on the information to Mr. Steffens. So my personal preference and strong recommendation is that you say it directly to him so that he hears it, and then he can create the notices. He can give feedback to you. You can agree on what you do want the search to say, and then he can generate the notices that include things like the size of the district area, the number of residents. All of those items typically go in the notices, as well as salary ranges and things like that. Okay. And I mentioned some rough numbers to him. He indicated that he thought that would be a number that could result in you receiving, on the nationwide level, quite a few responses.
With that being said, and the notice is going out to have a special meeting, what would be the soonest, if we looked at our calendars, that we could have a special meeting if he was the only one that would reply by RFP? Since we put out 3 notice requests, we only get 1 back. What would be the soonest that we could have a special meeting under the sunshine notice and everything else for him to appear, so we could do this within less 60 seconds? You know what I'm saying, though.
10 days.
Okay. And we would be good to go on that.
10 days.
Okay.
I need, a special meeting requires 7 days notice, and the news press requires 3 days to publish the notice. So tomorrow morning, if everything was going great in my office and I could generate a notice of a special meeting and get it to the news press by 2 o'clock tomorrow is their cutoff time. 10 days from tomorrow would be the earliest that you can have a meeting. But that means everybody's got to agree that 10 days out from now, I don't have any idea what's going on 10 days from now, but I don't, that would be the best. I would say probably 10 or 11 days would be the window.
Because really, we don't have much time.
On another Friday night.
Yeah, let's say, we're out of time to do anything. That's it.
All right, thoughts from the commissioners?
I'm just thinking, if we're going to pick this guy, why do we need to have a meeting with him?
Because he needs to know, Madam Chair, because he needs to know what you want. All he has heard so far is what I have told him I think you want. And it really, you need to tell him, as the decision makers for the district, he needs to hear from you as the first step. Once he hears from you and he is sure that you are sure what you want, and he's sure what you want, then he can go do the work that you need him to do. I could go out and do a bunch of work to make things happen, and he could do a bunch of work to make things happen. And we've both done this process a number of times, but it's your pick. You need to tell all of us, both of us, what you want.
If we give him a job description, then he should know what we're looking for. And if we need to have all these special meetings, why not pick up the phone and call him? Each commissioner give him a call.
Yeah, we could get to a place where we are walking on the fringes of a sunshine law issue. I would just want us to be very careful about that.
What if he's already picked? If we say like we vote tonight to use him, then
Well, as an example, you would also then need tonight to give him authority to modify your job description if he sees something in it. I know you're going to talk about whether to have, I remember from the workshop, whether to have a master's degree as a mandate or a master's degree is preferred and a bachelor's degree is a mandate. Those topics, he might have some input. He will have some input, not might, because I asked him about it. He will have some input to you as to what his recommendation would be for you to use as your standard if you were doing a nationwide search. It might be a different, it might have an impact. So that's why.
would he be able to send that by email?
You can't feedback to him, is the problem. Not collectively. You can't collectively make a decision. You could tell him what you want, but then that might be contrary to what Commissioner Smith wants, and then he can't do anything at that point. He needs decision making by the board before he launches his efforts. He needs to know that he's doing what you want him to do.
So by this schedule set up here, I see the chief being gone before he even gets anybody in here.
I don't know what else to do. I mean, Chief told us, we had the workshop on Friday, you're having a board meeting tonight, this is the first opportunity you could make a decision on it, and,
We need to, like I said 2 meetings ago, to submit, to have somebody stand in. Under those circumstances, have somebody stand in as an assistant chief or something like that during this transitional period. Otherwise, where we're going to be?
Well, Madam Chair, there is also another possibility, and I'm not talking to Chief about this.
Magical?
But well, no, sir. More in terms of, yes, the end of the contract term with the chief is whatever the date is, but that could be extended 30 days. Maybe Chief would agree to that. I don't know. He might have other plans that would prohibit that from happening. But no one has I haven't talked to the chief about that possibility, and if that is a possibility, that might be a very viable possibility for you. Chief has not heard, and I'm not talking to the chief about this at all. Chief has not heard any of these dates before tonight either. He's hearing them for the first time as well. Mm-hmm. I trust that the chief is, he might have restrictions that would not allow him to do something, but at the same time, you have not investigated that possibility either. So I would say that you may want to have some investigation done on that before. Okay, so there's another topic for your special meeting in 10 days. Between now and 10 days from now, Chief and I talk about what he's your operations guy. He's got ideas that he could share with you that I think to cover the gap. Now he knows what the gap is.
Well, he gave some solid dates, though. That's the reason I'm saying what I'm saying.
Well,
there were some solid dates.
Those were contractually solid dates under his current contract. I'm not arguing for him. I'm not arguing against him. I'm not arguing. I'm not arguing.
And there's some restrictions due to FRS guidelines. So
yes. And we haven't talked about any of that. We haven't had a chance.
Okay, we need to pursue that. So the chief feels,
That could be something to discuss as well.
All right, so Commissioner Becker, do you have any other questions, and how do we proceed from here?
Well, seems like this Mr. Steffens has some track record, and he is involved in the fire district, and he somebody's computer.
Is that your phone? Yeah, against your.
Mine's turned off. But anyway, I think I'm not for a special meeting, but it looks like we're going to need it ASAP. I think
one thing we should do is probably give Richard authority to hire Mr. Stephens to come to represent us. This is deeper than any of us can handle. I have talked to the chief about someone who is presently with the fire department, and there doesn't seem to be anyone qualified to do that. Once we publicize this, any locals will probably pick up on it. I'm sure the word's around, isn't it, John?
Yeah, Fire Chiefs Association is aware of it.
Yeah. And as far as what we need to look at something after the chief's date, but we need to first get it started. We first got to get that first step. And the first step, we can send him what our job description is. Previously, before this meeting, we can send him everything else before this meeting, so he can be.
Yes.
If we authorize you to hire him, we need to know what that price would be before you do that. But that would just be a matter of an email to 5 of us, 6 of us, 7 of us, 8 of us, 9 of us, whatever, and get this step going. But I don't like a special meeting either, but I think it's going to have to be done. That's all.
And I could ask, Madam Chairman, I could ask Mr. Stephens to provide you with a proposal, with a written proposal that would outline the steps, that would outline his fee, that would outline his projected time frames.
All before the
yes, sir. As soon as possible.
We're tied because of the 10 days.
Right. And I would send him your current job description and qualifications and requirements, and let him look at that so that we can come to the meeting.
No, okay. I'm going to have to bring an issue up. I had it. There's a handout that everybody got. A copy of this. Yeah. Okay. If we're going to send him anything, let's send him at least a portion of this. The comments earlier regarding the qualifications, minimum qualifications. You see under the orange tab, it says, and this is Cape Coral's fire chief pulled off of the internet this afternoon. Cape Coral has 150,000 people. We have 100,000 people. This is a far more populated area. They may be less area-wise, but they've got more population of surveillance. It says bachelor degree from an accredited college or university in a related field, master degree preferred. That to me is more acceptable. Master degree preferred. And I'm going to submit that as already in place at Cape Coral. I don't see why we can't do it here.
Comment real quick. Cape Coral does not run ALS system. They use the county.
True.
And we run an ALS system. Every one of our trucks are ALS. You've got to be able to handle that, which makes ours more intense than the Cape Coral because they rely on the county. And at this time, because of the deadline, because we all need it done. I'm going to go ahead and just make the motion that we need to go ahead and pull the special meeting, notify him that he needs to be here in 10 days at our special meeting, give him the information tonight and prepare the RFP, and give us his recommendations as, at our next meeting, or special meeting, so we can then move on to step 2.
One question, Richard, before we go any further. I know there's a motion on the floor. There's no second yet, but my question would be in relationship to this job qualifications. If we do that and he comes here that night, would we have authority that night to make modifications to that job?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sure. Thank you. All right, so we have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
The motion is?
The motion is to direct Richard to schedule a special meeting and arrange for Mr.
Stephens do the RFP, have it here, and we'll get ready to go in 10 or 11 days.
Giving him
permission to hire Mr. Stephens after we
Well, I think
We have to hire him once we hear what his RFP
Well,
and
he's got to
everything.
give us a proposal.
Thank you, Madam Chair, can I respond? Thank you very much for that vote of confidence, but I would prefer, just since you all are the final decision makers on the selection of the chief, I would like you to pick the guy who's going to be primarily responsible for getting folks into the pool. That's the big part that he's going to do. He's going to get people, he's going to get this noticed out in the world to give you a pool of folks to consider, and I would rather
So
you...
we could have him here at the meeting and hire him that evening.
You could have him at the meeting, you could hire him that evening. Once you hire him, as a first step, the second step would be to have him go through the job description that I'll send him, and I'll send him the City of Cape Corals as well, and other job descriptions that I know about. He knows about the one at Fort Myers Beach because he just got through that process. He knows about the one at Island McGregor because I've talked to him about that. So he would have all that information. You hire him, he'll tell you what he thinks, what his recommendations are as to put into the job description and the qualifications. He'll tell you about doing a nationwide search and who to send the notices to and what he wants to do there, and he'll describe the process. You approve all of that, he walks out the door and gets started. And then you're done for a little while until he brings you back a list of
That's
candidates.
as stated.
I'll second that motion.
all right. So all in favor? Aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. And
When's the special meeting?
As soon as possible. It would be a Friday at the absolute earliest, the 4th of March, and possibly the 7th of March, which is the following Monday.
7th of March would probably be better.
I'll check, and I mean, you know, if I can convince and encourage the news press to shave a day off of our time frame, I mean, that would get us to the Friday as a solid date. Not that I like Friday night meetings, but that's the earliest possible. You asked me for the earliest possible. That's the earliest possible.
Yeah, I like the 7th. That would give everybody the weekend to do any last minute details, any type of planning, so we have it all set to go on the night of the 7th.
We can do it whenever. If you say the 7th is what you prefer, then I'll do everything I can to make it the 7th.
are we in agreement on the 7th? Commissioner Smith, the 7th would work?
I got to check my calendar.
Okay.
I don't remember.
I don't know when he's back yet.
My brother's coming in that day, but I'll tell him. This is more important than visiting with my brother.
That's right.
This is very important to
very
me for this community.
So,
And my brother, that's not to be taken. One last day with his wife would be fine.
Okay.
So the preference is the 7th.
Looks like the preference is the 7th.
If that's not available by chance, the 4th is second preference. Okay. And I'll do the notice, and then is it also the board's desire for me to talk with the chief about his schedule at the tail end of the 90 to 120 day period before the meeting, so there can be some thoughts there as well. Discuss
That, and we can look at we need to look at
other
some
options.
options.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Okay, so then if I'm looking on our agenda, the next item would be the chief job description and qualifications, but
Let's
we are
table that.
going to table that
Table
in lieu of our special meeting. All
yeah,
right.
because that's already been done, because he's going to mail them out tomorrow and give them to him, make modification changes, so that's already been done.
All right, so we have public comment on non-agenda items. Mohammed Yassin. And comment on, I'm sorry, I can't read it.
I'm sorry, guys. After I heard about the, and I know non-agenda, my name is Mohammed Yassin, and after I heard several of the discussion and I looked at the fees part of it on the agenda item, I didn't come up here really to talk about that, but I will ask you to seriously consider that during the campaign to the citizens. When we were starting to try to get an assessment and the citizens voted, that was one of the things that was said. and I can recollect clearly that that would not probably happen or not happen at all. Now I'm hearing things about liens. I just want you guys to carefully think about that. And I'm going to go to, I just want to know how long, if anybody have an idea, and the chief might in this case, of projected retirements in this fire district within the next 2 years. Anybody have like a quick number? I know, just projected. Anybody have that? 4 or 5? 5. Okay, thanks. I just needed to know that. The other thing I needed to, and you guys have talked about the chief's time frame, and I know you guys have come to your workshop. I am going to ask the chairman of the commission, I'm going to hand you a set of resolution for each one of the commissioners. I'm going to ask verbally right now to be placed as a council, for the council, the Lehigh Acres Community Council, on the agenda, your next meeting. I know next month you guys might have a lot of things, but time would be of essence with this resolution that I'm going to hand you for each one of your commissioners to be played and have them read it, and I want it placed on the next agenda. And be mindful, I'm handing you this right now. Thank you. And this came from the community council. You should see if you have 5 sets, please. There's one that I'm going to ask that you do not at this point until you have you are missing 1 page, right? Somebody's missing 1 page. Yeah. Okay, it's 2 pages.
It is 2 pages.
Yeah, one of them is.
That's what I got.
Yeah, it's 2 pages. Yeah, a full page and a half page.
You have one for C?
I think, did I give you 6 or 5?
Yeah, 5.
You should be getting 1.
We've got 5 exactly.
5? So you should have.
This one, and I'll just get a copy of it.
You would?
Mm-hmm.
I think this one got to go back to them.
So I'm going to give you mine, and then I'll just get one from you.
Oh, yeah, I'll
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here, did you want this folder?
No, that's fine.
Thanks very much. That's all. That's all I had. But you guys have been doing a commendable job, and I know, 1 year we have not collected all the fees yet. We don't know where we're at, but I know that, the thing about liens right now can be a true sword to folks. I think you guys need to, when you table that, consider what you're doing. Please, think of the folks.
Okay, thank you. We'll go on to commissioner comments, please. Commissioner Smith, we'll start with you.
I just thank everybody coming out tonight. It's been an interesting evening.
Thank you. Commissioner Carter? I don't know, Chief. Excuse me. Do you want to respond to this during chief comments from Mr. Nelson?
We were talking about commercial only,
Possibly
not personal.
Confusion?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
We're going to get to you in just a second.
Okay, I want to thank everybody for showing up, and I want to congratulate each and every one of our firefighters that showed up today, and all of those that put their life on, and for the awards. And without them, this community would not be here and safe every night. Thank you, everybody.
I want to say something about our Fireman of the Year. When we were at the chamber and he received that award, he received $500 from the new mortuary that used to be Anderson next to Walmart. Gender,
Yeah.
I think it is, and that was Mike Gender who presented that. And he will plan on, I talked to his representative, and they plan on doing it every year. So that's going to be nice for them to do that. And I attended a funeral the other day, and it was they do a nice job there. But there was a lady came up to Chris and said, "How heavy was this lady?" And he said, "Somewhere between 150 and 180 pounds." And it wasn't just a little old 90-year-old lady; it was an old lady. And he says, that they would have not made it down those steps if he wouldn't have carried them. So there is some that he didn't want to say, but by spending the evening with him, he did mention things. So we did think it good.
Good job.
Good job.
Commissioner Adams.
I just want to thank the public for coming out, and congratulations to all the firefighters.
Okay. And I would just like to thank the public for coming out. Congratulations to all of our employees that received awards tonight, and welcome aboard to those that are new. Thank you, everybody around the table, for all that you do on a daily basis. And then, Chief, I'm going to turn it over to you.
I think Commissioner Cruz wants me to address the lien. We were talking about the lien. That was for it was for the
User fees.
The user fees for inspections. It had nothing to do with the
Okay,
fire
great.
assessment.
Yeah,
Just for
I
the
think
record.
in your talk, when they were talking, there were a lot
Yeah.
of talk about it from all of you guys, so it was not like clear. But
Yeah,
I got it. Thanks.
Yeah,
no.
so, yeah.
It was thanks, I understand now.
Yeah. And otherwise, again, thank you for giving us the authority to hopefully fill that position if Tim is really serious about it. I think he is, and we can come to that agreement with the local. And I think it's a wonderful opportunity for the district to move forward in both of those aspects of life safety and IT. And again, to all the employees here that we swore in this evening that were promoted in the annual awards, it's quite amazing to see 30 employees. It's really, really cool.
Yeah.
So, other than that, that's all I have.
Nice getting back up.
Motion to adjourn.
All right.
You didn't have the time.
Motion adjourned is 8.
Oh, that's right.